I agree, Warren.
Yes.
What's that?
I agree.
You agree?
When you said, I agree.
You noticed that?
I did.
No, I'm sure. Haven't been here. You missed out on what I've been here. For me.
No, go.
I call to order the October 30th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Education of Hinsdale Township High School District 86. We are meeting in the Hinsdale South Library. The time is 6:04 p.m. Deb, will you please call roll?
Member Greenspan.
Here.
Member Fisher.
Here.
Member Mitha. Here. Member Akris.
Here calling remote due to work travel.
Member Satchwell.
Here.
Member Leacock. Member Waters.
Please stand if you are able and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board will now hear audience comments for up to a total of 45 minutes. Speakers will have 3 minutes to address the board. Board meetings are meetings of the board held in public, not open forum town hall meetings. Board members will not engage the public during public comment. The board will keep this in mind as we conduct our meetings, allowing the public to provide input at the time allotted on the agenda to ensure that the multiple voices of the community inform board deliberations. When the board deliberates, it will be a time for the board to listen and learn from each other, taking the public input into consideration, not a time to re-engage with the public. The board will consistently abide by our formal processes relating to this issue so that all persons are treated fairly and equally. Deb, do you have the sheet? The sign-in sheet?
It's still, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Our first speaker is Carrie Walker. Carrie and Greg Walker.
Before you all start the clock, I'm going to ask for a favor. We're here on behalf of Helen Hart Bryan, whose son Jack tragically passed about 6 months ago. He was like a third son to us, and he was our son Dom's best friend since second grade. So Helen is still grieving, obviously, but she's a 25-year educator and has some thoughts around what we can do better as a community to support those individuals that are going through trials and tribulations. So Terry's going to speak for Helen.
Thank you, and these are Helen's words. In reflection of how to move forward after Jack's death, I've thought of many areas that the Hinsdale District could review and improve the mental health awareness of many students. I would like the English department to review the novels and articles the students read in their 4 years in high school. Many titles currently involve death, murder, and suicide, and very depressing issues in our society. Examples such as All My Rage and Fahrenheit 451. The frontal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and planning, does not completely develop until age 25. We must be very cautious in the education world of the number of books with the theme of death and depression that we require our youth to decipher. Social emotional learning standards are a required component of K-12 education in Illinois. The framework is for teaching students essential social and emotional skills. The key components are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. While these components may be discussed in English novels and in health class, I question if they are taught in an explicit instruction every month for 4 years. Teachers are expected to intentionally create a supportive environment and teach, model, and provide opportunities for students to practice these skills. I would ask my 3 children over the years if these lessons were happening and if their answers were, yeah, maybe a little during health class. I've inquired with other students this year and they have the same answers. Health is only a semester class. I beg the administration and the board to review where and when the SEL lessons are taking place every month, every year, every grade in the D86 curriculum. I do not believe that the gym class with its high numbers would be an appropriate environment for these delicate conversations and lessons. I would also like to add the administration to add flyers and pamphlets to the student and parent website. Place these flyers in areas like student services, bathrooms, hallways, the nurse's office, so that students know where they can go if they are in need of mental health resources. One example is NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health Issues Agency. There are also locations such as the Loft in Brookfield, the Living Room in LaGrange, the Crisis Resource Center right next door to NAMI in Wheaton also provides 24/7 support for individuals experiencing mental health issues. We must educate our students and families of the agencies available to assist in their needs. Mental health is usually a hidden topic, and it needs to become more of the narrative in our homes and schools. The best way that I see that happening is to get the information in print and available to all. I would like the administration to find time or compensation for teachers to read and understand the 504 plans and IEP plans that some of the students require to learn in a safe environment. There were 3 or 4 teachers that spoke to me at Jack's visitation. They told me they had no idea that Jack had issues. They would have helped him if they knew. I replied, Jack had a 504 plan and it was all the details were listed in the plan. I am sure there are many 504 and IEP students on a teacher's roster each day. I know as a teacher myself, there are not enough hours in a day to complete all of the tasks needed for the classroom. I'm challenging the board and the administration to find time or compensation so that these teachers read and understand the plans for every student on their roster. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for allowing me to go a few minutes over. And again, these are the words from Helen. And I will just share with you, and I can leave this with you, Deb. There were some flyers in here as well. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I think at some point in the future, Helen will schedule some time with Principal Walsh, Dr. Locke, the board, Carrie, to talk to you all individually, but she's not at a point right now where she can really do that. So thank you again.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Adolph Galinsky.
Good evening. My name is Adolph Galinsky. For years, District 86 successfully provided 3 orchestra courses to many Hinsdale South students: concert orchestra, symphony orchestra, and philharmonic orchestra. I proposed a creative solution at the last board meeting to ensure South students are provided the courses. To compensate for eliminating the orchestra courses at Hinsdale South, District 86 should amend its school assignment policy such that South residing string music students will be allowed to enroll at Central as full-time students to access the orchestra courses. There's plenty of space at Central to accommodate these additional orchestra students, and the numbers also indicate that those Central courses would benefit from additional students. Rather than pursuing the relatively simple solution of affected South students enrolling at Central full-time, Board Member Mitha requested these 3 orchestra courses be marked in the program of studies as housed at Central. We now have 20 exclusive courses enshrined in the program of studies as being housed at Central. As documented on page 9 in the most recent program of studies that you will review tonight, students who elect to access the course by traveling to the other school need to arrange for transportation. District 86 does not provide transportation. Maybe you expect a parent or guardian to leave employment midday to pick up and transport their child to the other school 5 days a week, potentially for 4 years, in order to access orchestra. Or maybe when the child turns 16 and has obtained their driver's license, you expect parents will purchase a vehicle, insurance, and parking. Or maybe you expect parents and guardians to hire a taxi service. Why does this district repeatedly make course access difficult for Hinsdale South students? It is shameful this board will tax music students with the additional complexity and cost of travel to access District 86's orchestra courses. This clearly discriminates against all affected families at Hinsdale South, especially those of lower socioeconomic status. Hinsdale District 86 and New Trier District 203 each have 2 campuses with the same distance and time apart, 3 miles, 9 minutes. Please call New Trier's administration and learn how they were able to successfully establish a shuttle bus system between their 2 campuses that operates every school day, multiple times per day, and ensures that their district complies with state law by providing their district's curriculum to all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kim Notaro.
Every topic addressed at the board table should include a comprehensive report and a brief presentation to summarize so that people don't have to search slides to figure out what was said. With alignment, D86 eliminated courses with embedded interventions that closed academic skill gaps. Everyone meeting state standards was pushed into honors, abandoning placement criteria, and those below became regular. Where D86's largest feeder, D181, requires 83% for advanced ELA and 93% for A social studies, in D86 these students in honors are at 50th percentile. Enrollment in AP Lang and Comp went from 24% in school year 2016 to 72% this year at Hinsdale Central. During COVID, D86 adopted a grading scheme with an unhealthy focus on outcomes. Little and no credit for habits that lead to learning. School became a testing machine. Note the AP chemistry slide. In under 45 days of school, students have taken 13 tests and completed only one lab. That's a lab science. I don't know how we do this. The 26 formative assessments don't count. The data in the grading presentation clearly identifies grade inflation and doesn't give you data to help you serve students. Then there's earned honors, which set up a hierarchy of electives where some students choose honors courses instead of exploring the elective content that they really want to do, just because the other class doesn't have a GPA bump. It's critical to offer consistent opportunities across all elective content areas. Before earned honors at Central, all intro-level electives received regular credit, and many upper level had an honors option. Initially, earned honors was proposed to encourage students who had never taken honors to try honors. Success was defined as enrolling in honors after earned honors, but the data was incomplete and the board did not approve the pilot. And then earned honors was for everyone and extended to art and later other departments. D86 have not defined honors expectations. Therefore, it's ridiculous to extend earned honors, which Assistant Superintendent Chris Covino clearly stated weren't honors. But the proposal on the table is to adopt the current earned honors electives and school year 27-28 consider changing honors electives to earned honors, systematizing stratification. While I appreciate the time that went into the Advancing Academic Opportunities presentation, the engagement and their engagement with A&O, the evidence is anecdotal at best because the motivation for earned honors is a moving target. Earned honors replace senior seminar and writing honors with creative nonfiction earned honors. Replace honors level 2 and 3 art courses, tech support internship honors, and journalism, news magazine, and yearbook honors at Central with earned honors. The first 2 years of data show more students who would choose honors did not earn honors, and fewer students who tried honors enrolled in honors after. After A&O, a half dozen families reached out saying their students were confused with what they had to do to earn honors. One would assume the requirements for a student enrolled in honors and a student earning honors would be the same. To that end, for consistency, school year 26-27, why not offer introductory at a regular level and give the option to choose honors or earn honors to all kids, so everything's the same.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Roberta Packer.
Hi, I would like to start by pointing out that for as long as I have been following grading, the administration has defended this system as if everyone universally loves it. We know this is not true. It was said at a meeting a while ago that grading was one of the top 3 email topics ever for one board member, up there with masks. At this point, people have given up on the topic. Parents and kids do not think this system, with these discrete formative and summative buckets, overweighting of tests, and a lack of emphasis on preparatory assignments makes any sense. And to date, there has never been any orientation around talking honestly with parents and students and owning the issues of these quick rollouts for any of our curricular or grading experiments. And I guarantee there's no way that your staff is unanimously in love with this either. We have seen all sorts of policies about when the retake window is, and you must do this, or you must do that, or I have no discretion over that, or I would have to get permission from the course team. Surely the frustration with all of these grading mandates has led to many a headache for teachers because now we see a joyless bunch of follow-on policies for students to wade through. In all seriousness, Where is the spreadsheet showing grading details for all of our classes across the district that President Greenspan asked for last month at Academic Committee? A prior administration released this information to the public. Where are the hyperlinks in the POS to grading information for all aligned classes, like Dr. Covino had started? Are we afraid to print that information because things aren't aligned? But board, you have agency here, and I hope to see you use it. A few of you ran on issues related to curricular overhaul and experimentation with things like grading. And you ran on stopping the last superintendent and all of her newfangled programs, which for some odd reason were implemented for the entire district, never even floated for particular groups of students, but always with assurances that this is for all 4,000 kids, no matter if it's earned honors credit or grading. So what are you as a board going to do about it? I am going to keep reminding that members of this board ran against the last superintendent's programs, showed her the door, and never cleaned up the mess. Grading, still here. Alignment, still here. Coordination of grading across district course teams, still here. Earned honors credit, still here. Concerns about the removal of G-Track and really all the levels now collapsing on themselves, still here. I hope that the answer isn't, well, we'll hire someone new and then that person will examine each of these issues. We already tried that, it's all still here. And a new person won't start for another 8 months, and then it will take several months more for that person to get the lay of the land, and by then our kids will be in college. I think the board needs to think about what it's going to do, or we are going to be sitting here a year from now in this same scrape. What are you afraid of? Maybe you need to have special meetings to begin to address some of these things. I actually do not know, but I know the mess is still here. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Warren Ali.
Good evening. I'm Warren Ali, and I'm a former candidate for a seat on this board. I'm also the parent of 2 Hinsdale Central students, a supporter of this board, a supporter of this community. So it's a pleasure to speak before you today. I have 3 items of recognition today, and maybe 1 criticism if I get to it. First, homecoming. I had the pleasure of working the 7th Street and Grant corner with Member Akris. As you know, Member Akris takes things very seriously, and so we nailed down that corner and kept all the kids safe from running after candy and getting run over by the parade route. That corner is pretty unique because the parade passes through that corner twice. Member Mentha was also there, a block away from us, volunteering at homecoming at Garfield in 7th, and had a wonderful time. And I also have the pleasure of serving with Member Mentha on the Hinsdale South Community Action Committee, or team. So fantastic work there. And of course, I can't leave out Board President Kat Greenspan, who is everywhere when you look at this district and has served greatly and has high energy and a large amount of commitment to this community. I saw her last at the Huddle House during the last football game. It was warm in there, by the way. It was freezing night. I volunteered there, made some hot chocolate, and had a good time, as I always do across this district. So super excited about seeing board members out in the community. Secondly, teacher-parent conferences. We have fantastic faculty here. The more I interact with them, the more I'm impressed. They advocate for my children. They are competent. They have high energy and they're very available. Third, if you really want to feel good about our district, talk to our students. Talk to our students. I had the privilege of, for a second year, leading the volunteer effort for the Rotary Run, where we had students from both Central and South come out and volunteer. And I had conversations with both, and they are very articulate. They have an excessive amount of pride for this district. They're very capable. They have plans. They seem to be doing pretty good, even though you hear a lot of things that aren't going well in this district. Talk to our students. Talk to our faculty. See what's really going on. Volunteer. Be involved. And you will see a district that is highly capable, making a big difference in this community. And we're all proud to be here and be part of this community. And so 3 different areas, students, faculty, and members of this board. The one criticism I would have for the board, and maybe you've already resolved this, which I hope you will if you haven't already, is you have an overdue legal bill with the past legal firm. In my experience, those legal bills, if services were rendered, you should pay the bill. If you have a dispute about how the services were rendered, then dispute those portions. But if they did the services, and I think they did, I haven't heard that they didn't do the services, you need to pay them. That's the professional thing to do, that's the right thing to do. You disputed aspects of it, hopefully you've gotten the answer you needed. You severed the relationship, which is what you do when you aren't happy with the quality of service. And so that's fantastic. But if you have an overdue bill, pay the bill.
Thank you. Moving on to information reports. The Hinsdale Central and Hinsdale South liaison reports. Principals Walsh and Paranto.
Good evening, Dr. Carrie Paranto, Principal of Hinsdale South. I'd like to actually propose we switch the 2 reports. Our board liaison report will go second. First, I'd like to recognize our National Merit semifinalists. We had 4 this year at Hinsdale South, and we're really, really proud to recognize them. Our 4 students, which will be coming up on the screen shortly, are Anita Joseph, Asmitha Palith, Rishi Joshi, and Aran Alam. Aran Alam unfortunately was not able to be here tonight, neither was Rishi. But I'd like to recognize our 2 semifinalists that are here today. Please introduce yourselves and talk about where you're planning to attend school next year. If you don't have the school locked in, that's absolutely okay. Don't want to jinx anything. And if you want to talk about what you're planning to major in next year and what your favorite thing about Hinsdale South is.
My name is Asmitha Palith. Not sure exactly what school I'll be attending next year yet, but I plan to major in biochemistry and environmental science. And I would probably say that my favorite thing about Hinsdale South would be just the diversity of clubs and student organizations we have.
Hi, my name is Anita Joseph. I also currently don't know where I'll be attending college, but I'm planning to major in bioengineering on the pre-medical track. And I think my favorite part about South is probably the support and guidance of all of my peers and the staff here.
And in honor of Rishi, who was not able to make it last minute, he did say, regarding my future plans, I would like to be a physical chemist in the future, entailing a double major of both physics and chemistry. And I hope to maintain my interest in math, perhaps not necessarily through a major, but both for personal curiosity and for theoretical relevance to chemistry and physics. So thank you to all 4 of our students for recognizing them tonight. And now I'm going to hand it over to Asmitha to give her board report. She's doing double duty today.
Here is the Hinsdale South Student Board Liaison Report for the month of October. Regarding athletics, after a challenging season, South faced Morton for our last home football game. We ended the game with a victory, beating Morton 35-14. Congratulations to all our players, but also in addition, this game marked our senior night. Congratulations to all of our wonderful seniors from band, dance, cheer, and football. Our boys cross country team and girls recently medaled across all levels at the WSC conference meet. Special congratulations to Anna Wilcox, Wojtek Kolarski, and Javier Terrell for earning their all-conference spots. Although it is not currently listed in the presentation, our boys cross country team also recently placed as regional champs, so huge congratulations. Congratulations to our girls tennis team on winning the IHSA sectional. The following athletes also qualified for the IHSA Girls Tennis State Finals. Addie Filipiak placed first place in singles. Haley Goins and Teodora Savic placed first place in doubles. And although it is not listed in the presentation, Huge congratulations to Addie Filipiak for becoming our state champion. On October 1st, the No Hate High School Tour visited South during an all-school assembly. This program was created with the intention to bringing awareness to bullying in high schools and equipping students with anti-bullying prevention tools. The assembly featured professional BMX riders, and we were extremely lucky to see Hinsdale South feature Mr. Richard bike up the ramps as well. Huge thanks to the No Hate Tour for visiting South. October 3rd marks the official dedication day of Hinsdale South 60 years ago. On this date, the City of Darien and Mayor Joe Marquise visited the school. At the next City Council meeting on October 6th, he proclaimed October as Hinsdale South Month. On October 18th, the Best Buddies Club hosted another successful trunk or treat. Huge thanks to some of our board members who came out to support the club and made it such a memorable day. In regards to our fine arts department, South's fall musical is going to be Mean Girls. Mean Girls Day is on October 3rd, according to a reference in the show. To celebrate, our drama club released a promotional video on Hinsdale South socials every day of the week leading up to October 3rd. In addition, trivia was held in every class period on October 3rd, and winners received a full bag of candy for the entire class. During lunch period, students were invited to write kind notes to each other and stick them on poster paper. Thank you to everyone who helped us spread kindness and celebrate. For our music department, congratulations to the following students on being selected as all district musicians. These students were selected for their musical talent. Peyton Chang for the flute, Emily Sudecki for B-flat clarinet, Emily Gallagher for soprano 1, Kessie Hauer for soprano 2, Dean Hernandez-Raman for jazz guitar, Emily Ciarni for jazz piano, Boston Desmond for percussion, Jack Polachek for trumpet, and Nora Schaffer for trumpet. This month, we also recognize our Students of the Quarter, also known as Breakfast Club winners. These students were each selected from one of the departments at South. We also recognize our teacher and staff member of the quarter. Congratulations to World Language Department Chair and Teacher, Ms. Sarah Lombard, and our Security Supervisor, Mr. Ed Zorick. Our Breakfast Club winners are listed below. On Thursday, October 16th, we celebrated our National Merit and College Board recognition students at a breakfast. Here, each student received a certificate to recognize their achievement, and a few students offered speeches. These students were each selected based on their outstanding performance on the PSAT. Congratulations. In regards to my student voice report, on Wednesday, October 15th, every student took the Panorama Survey, which is intended to help the school better understand the well-being of the students. Seeing as this was our first survey of the new school year, I decided to ask students to provide their input on how the survey is going and how it can be improved in the future. I created a Google form for students to take, and it was emailed to the entire student body. I received 47 responses, and I would once again like to acknowledge that this is merely a representation of the student body based on those who chose to respond. Most responses came from freshmen, with sophomores also participating frequently. In the upper right-hand corner, I have listed a graph which shows the distribution of different grade levels that responded. Unfortunately, this may hinder some of the data collected because upperclassmen have a more expansive view of how Panorama surveys have functioned in the past. When asked how long they spent taking the survey, most responders reported somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. I believe this is an adequate amount of time to spend, and this verifies the amount of effort put into the survey. I then asked which topics, if any, should be focused on in the future. I received an overwhelming number of responses emphasizing time management. I believe this points towards the fact that many students have the desire to be successful in school and life, but they lack the skills which can get them there. I am aware that our South Pride lessons sometimes touch on time management skills. Its students seem to want more of this. The second most common response to this question was social well-being. While there are many questions in the current Panorama survey which address this, students desired the ability to elaborate more on whatever social issues may be going on. For example, one student suggested the possibility of follow-up questions. This could be used for the current question, which asked what subject or activity is most difficult in the student's life, and the student suggested that whatever subject activity it pertains to, the teacher who corresponds to that class can be notified and more aware of the issue. My last question asked students if they believe Hinsdale South's efforts to prioritize social and emotional well-being have been effective in the past years. These responses were largely positive. Nearly all of the responders believe that South has done a very effective job over the past few years. A few suggestions were to incorporate more SEL into everyday life. Perhaps this could be done through follow-ups after a South Pride lesson, although I am aware that our South Pride lessons have changed a little in the idea that they are less frequent, but more altogether, since we now have an all-school assembly for them. So I do think it would be a little bit easier to get follow-ups running for our students since we are all doing them at the same time. Overall, many students stated that South Pride lessons and PLN lessons during PE classes made a positive impact on their lives. Thank you.
And I was going to put another plug in. If you'd like to see Asmitha again, you should come see Mean Girls.
Thank you so much. Principal Walsh.
Good evening, Bill Walsh, Principal of Hinsdale Central High School. Thanks for having us today. Karen Zimrod is going to give our student liaison report. Karen, the floor is yours.
Hi. Okay. Hi. This is the Hinsdale Central D86 Board of Education report for October 30th, 2025. Homecoming was just recent, and homecoming was a huge hit with over 1,300 students dancing, playing games, and enjoying food, lights, and music. The week leading up to it was full of spirit with fun themes, powder puff, a dunk tank, and lively pep rally. Next is our club updates. So for FCCLA, Ivy, a freshman, competed at York in Cupcake Wars with FCCLA, using cookies as a secret ingredient for her Halloween-themed cupcakes. She said it helped her get creative and step out of her comfort zone. Next, we have Ambassadors Club, Special Olympics Bocce Ball, and Beer Buddies. Lucy, a junior, celebrated Halloween with these clubs by carving pumpkins, decorating cookies, and eating pizza with her friends. Her favorite part was connecting with others and spending time with her peers. Next, we have Chess Club. Over 600 players came to Central for the Red Devil Invite, one of the biggest tournaments around. The team did great overall, with top finishes and strong team spirit. And lastly, for our club updates, we have Link Crew. All freshmen teamed up with their Link Crew leaders to make nearly 100 blankets for the local pediatric hospitals. It was a great way to bring the class of 2029 together and start their high school journey with kindness. Now for some of our events at Central. PSAC, our Principal Student Advisory Council, had their first meeting and over 75 students came discussing topics like personal computers, homecoming, and the tardy system. Seniors even suggested allowing Chromebooks to access personal email for college applications. Next is Diwali. South Asian Student Union celebrated Diwali with henna, candle decorating, Bollywood music, and festive decorations. They're now preparing for their annual Garba celebration on November 7th. Next is Halloween for Student Council. Student Council hosted Halloween activities like Ghost Lollipops, pet and human costume contests, and candy corn guessing games for tomorrow for Halloween. And lastly, for events at Central was Red Devil Service Club. The club honored Breast Cancer Awareness Month by covering the walls with pink notes dedicated to people affected by cancer. The goal was to spread awareness, support others, and encourage learning about the cause. Now for our fine arts updates. The play at Central right now is I Hate Shakespeare. So freshman Lila said being in the play helped her meet tons of new friends and get involved. She described it as Shakespeare explained in fun and interesting ways, with lots of humor and storytelling. Now for our Devils athletics. So we had recently Volley for a Cure, where freshman Maeve said her favorite memory from volleyball was Volleyball for a Cure, which supported breast cancer awareness. She loved the energy, the pink spirit, and getting to play with her senior sister. Next is boys football. So senior Timmons said this football season has been going really strong, with hard work paying off and close games showing their growth. He's proud to help lead the team to playoffs for their first time in 4 years. And lastly, for Devils athletics, we have girls golf state. Senior Olivia said girls golf state was a blast, especially the bus rides and friendly competition. She'll miss playing against her best friends from other schools most of all. And now for the student voice section. Students at Hinsdale Central have been begging for air conditioning in the gym.
While preparing for the homecoming pep rally, student council members had to take breaks outside just to cool off. However, during the actual pep rally, students were packed into a gym, sweating and uncomfortable. Freshman Reese explained that the event was hard to enjoy because she was cramped next to people in a hot and humid room. Similarly, during the homecoming dance, many students stepped outside into the courtyard to catch some fresh air and cool down, as the gym became unbearably warm. Hinsdale Central students are asking for air conditioning in their gym, believing that this change would make the school events more enjoyable, engaging, and more comfortable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, would you mind staying up there, please? Carrie, would you like to join Bill? Please. You don't need your computer. Principals Walsh and Paranto.
It's not a joke, is it?
No, Bob is not going to say a joke. While you're sitting up there, we would like to take a moment to express our gratitude during Principal Appreciation Month, and really always. We have a short video. Yes, Bill, we do. That highlights just a few of your contributions over the year.
Oh, won't play? Thank you. By the way, Alex, somebody broke the news to me. I knew about it.
Again, deepest gratitude for all of your work to support our students, our staff, and our community. You each have over 2 decades here. Thank you. Now on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent Locke.
My report is very short tonight. 4 things. I also want to thank our principals for not just Principal Day, week, and month, but for all you do during the year. There's so much that happens behind the scenes that people in this room don't see, and I know you take care of all the time. From Carrie, your constant acknowledgement when we talk about a staff member or an initiative or a team, it's like, okay, this is the right thing to do. I'll figure out a way to convince them to do it, and do that with such grace and such smoothness. It's so impressive. And Bill, I keep thinking back, it was just a few weeks ago, talking in your office, and we had an HR issue that you had to deal with, and you so precisely and acutely diagnosed what really the situation was and what kind of feedback you needed to give to the person we were talking about in order to correct what they're doing, but also make it a learning experience for them so that the actions will be improved moving forward. You do it with grace and class. We have two great schools. There's not a great school in the country that doesn't also have a great principal. So thanks for doing what you do. But wait, there's more. I don't want to forget Chris and Kurt and Ryan and Kyle, who do even more behind the scenes that people know about, whether it's dealing with draft 7 or draft 8 of a grading presentation, or if it's countless meetings about which class gets put on which list for the program of studies, whether it's checking in on departments and making sure that the instruction is going right and teachers have the tools and supports they need. There's tons you do. You all do it really well, so thank you. Second, I want to just highlight again the Volley for a Cure. This is both South and Central coming together. This year we raised over $1,500 for the Wellness House. It's a great event to see the schools come together, but we've had an awful lot of people in our community who've had cancer or other illnesses. It's so important to recognize them. The testimony and the way that Activities Director Phillips was recognized here was really profound and meaningful. It's just a neat way to show what a tight community all of this is. Third, quickly, I want to remind parents and families, our community speaker series continues. This one, Dr. Singer from Loyola will talk about how to differentiate between just sort of everyday stress and tension and real mental health needs. Heard about it earlier today. It's something we spend tons of time focusing on. It's something we all can learn about. And lastly, just today, the state released our report cards. I'm pleased to say that both schools improved their overall points. That's thanks to the principals and the leadership teams there. It's great to see that we're getting a little bit better every year. We'll have more to talk about that in November. So thanks.
Thank you. Point of order. Before we continue with our discussion items, I would like to request the support of the board to amend the agenda. The first thing is to ask our principals to give verbal building plan updates. Building plan updates were scheduled for October, but as an oversight, my oversight, were not placed on the agenda. If the board is in agreement, I would like to add a brief verbal update from each principal to our discussion items. Yep. Okay, so Deb, will you add that? Two, grades and grading. A request by Member Waters over the past 2+ years for a grading report has appeared on the board's list of future agenda items for some time. In Jeff's absence, I would like the board to postpone discussion of agenda item 6.2, grades and grading, to our next regular meeting when Member Waters will be in attendance. With the support of the board, we can postpone 6.2. Liz?
Yes.
Bob?
Regrettably.
Mary?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep, I agree. So we'll postpone 6.2. I would like to acknowledge Kurt and Chris, your significant work on this. Thank you. But we'll still talk about it in November. Perfect. Thank you. Moving on to board policies for first read. Excuse me. Committee reports are discussion items and an opportunity for the board to engage with committee members regarding the work of the committee. Policies presented to the board by the policy committee are an extension of the committee report. I placed discussion of the proposed policy updates earlier on the agenda in coordination with the committee reports. On behalf of my policy committee colleagues, not in attendance, both, the policy committee advanced several policies to the board for first read to provide direction on the proposed updates and next steps. We will begin with discussion of board exhibits and administrative procedures. 4.1, board exhibits and administrative procedures. Board exhibits. Admin procedures and exhibits are generally implemented by the administration and do not require board action. There are some exhibits that support the work of the board. Press recommends that the board review these exhibits. The policy committee discussed board exhibits on September 8th and October 6th and supported release of exhibits for public transparency. The board has the option to review or adopt these exhibits. The board can elect to publish these exhibits or include them in the board policy manual. Administrative procedures. The policy committee expressed an interest in an audit of all administrative procedures to ensure, first, alignment. Administrative procedures must align with adopted BOE policy and should not be written beforehand. Responsibility. The cabinet members responsible for the operational area covered by each policy should draft the corresponding administrative procedures. And only those cabinet members and building administrators. 3, clarification. BOE policy defines direction, while administrative procedures operationalize policy. That's why it's so important that administrative procedures are not written before board policy is adopted or amended. And finally, process. Development or update of procedures must follow board action and policy adoption. Going on to 4.2, policy 2:80, board member oath and conduct. Updated and fresh issue 119 as part of a 5-year review, the policy committee recommends the board answer yes to a Press Plus question regarding including optional language to address board member behavior. The language is a board member who fails to abide by the oath of office or the code may be subject to action by the board, including but not limited to formal censure and or referral to the regional superintendent for removal from office under board policy 2:60, board member removal from office. With the support of the board to include the press optional language, the policy will be presented for approval on second read on the consent agenda in November. Okay, great. 4.3, policy 2:220, Board of Education meeting procedure. The policy committee presents changes to policy 2:220 to clarify policy regarding the right of individual board members to take personal handwritten notes while listening to a closed session verbatim recording. The proposed language is district-specific language and may be included or disregarded as the board directs. The committee also recommends that a sentence be struck from a press optional paragraph in policy which addresses board member access to closed session verbatim recordings relevant to the exercise of their duties. With the support of the board, to include clarifying district language and to strike press optional language, the policy will be presented for approval on second read on the consent agenda in November. And for clarity, any changes to policy 2:220 are not retroactive. They're putting the district in a position to move forward. Yeah.
So I would just state that my strong preference generally is to use press language whenever possible, but given that the changes in this policy explicitly prohibit violating confidentiality, I personally feel comfortable making these modifications to ensure that all board members can access important information needed to make thoughtful decisions for our district and students going forward.
So Member Mitha is in support.
Yes.
Bob?
Yeah, same. I think this nicely threads a desire to protect private information while allowing board members to do their job. Many of the decisions we've made as board members in the last 2 months have been based on conversations that took place before we were seated. And the ability to listen to these meetings, as I think all of us have done, is important. Some people learn by taking notes, and we should support that as well.
Agreed. I agree with Member Mithra that to the extent that we can align with press and IASB recommendations and not recreate the wheel with our policies, I support that. So this seems to bring us more in line with that. So yeah, I support as well.
Thank you. So Deb, that will also, policy 2:220 will also come in November for second reading. Oh, Asma.
Thank you, Kat. I'm completely being very attentive. I don't have anything to say about the specific policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 4.4, policy 2:220, administrative procedures. The policy committee recommends that the board implement or adopt press exhibit 2:220-E7, access to closed meeting minutes and verbatim recordings, replacing D86 exhibits 7-7.1 and 7.2, which incorporate unique language inconsistent with press. Bob?
Yes.
Yep, agreed.
I agree. Espa?
Yep.
Okay. 4.5, policy 2:240, board policy development. Proposed revisions to policy 2:240 implement the policy committee's interest in specifying how policy and administrative procedures will be reviewed and updated, including alignment with policy, assignment of responsibility to the administrator with oversight of the corresponding operational area, clarifying that administrative procedures operationalize those policies and should be updated following board policy adoption. Is that okay?
I just wanted to add here for 2:240, I think that the actor section should be the superintendent and or the board's designee, just to make sure it's evergreen for the long term and we have flexibility rather than going back and making changes. That's on a different document, but also under 2:240, I believe. Yes.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. 4.6, policy 2:240, administrative procedures. Press rewrote 2:240 E1 in their 119 update as part of a 5-year review. Proposed changes to the district's current 2240-E1 published in the board's policy manual include recommendations from press, legal counsel, and the board recording secretary. Have you guys had a chance? Yep.
Yes.
Asma?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll just note that this exhibit was approved in January 2021, and so to replace it with the updated administrative procedure, which is the prior version is published in the board policy manual, it will need to come forward for approval on second read at the next meeting. Please let me know if you would like other administrative procedures or board exhibits to come for approval as well.
And can I ask, we talked about an audit of administrative procedures wholly, right? Is that correct? So I know I heard something on an IASB webinar that they offer services to streamline and, okay, so just I think that might be helpful.
It would, thank you. Moving on to 4.7, policy 7:30, student assignment and intra-district transfer. The policy committee discussed policy 7:30 per board member request for review to consider an option for choice transfers from the higher population school to the lower population. The committee requested legal review for guidance on proximity, transportation, class enrollment, current intra-district transfer process, and other implications of implementing a choice transfer process. Does anybody have any questions would like to discuss?
Thank you for moving this
I
forward
appreciate
so
the
quickly.
support. Thank you. I'm hoping this will support our campuses.
So there are no changes to the policy?
There was suggested language, right, in the response from our legal team that seemed good to me.
Okay.
It's not marked on here, if you would like us to incorporate that, yes.
I think we have consensus, okay. 4.8, board exhibits. Board exhibits updated in press, issue 119, are presented for board review, including 2:120E2, website listing of development and training completed by board members, 2:200-AP, types of school board meetings, 2:220-E4, open meeting minutes, 2:220-E9, requirements for no physical presence of quorum and participation by audio or video during disaster declaration, and 3:70, AP succession plan. Please note that this AP was previously reviewed as part of the transition from super to acting super to interim super and determined not to be needed. As a board exhibit, the AP should reflect the board's succession plan and not the superintendent's. The content of this draft was proposed by the superintendent. Deb, do you want to provide a summary of the next steps for this one?
Unless you are advising that these administrative procedures, board exhibits need to come forward for approval, they will be updated as detailed and then implemented in the administrative procedure manual. You'll need to give me an answer on 370 because this was an area of discussion previously, whether you want to incorporate it or not incorporate it, and if you agree with the superintendent's recommendation.
That's fine. But the question is to incorporate the changes recommended by the superintendent.
I'm fine with the updates.
Asma?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Moving on to board committee reports. Next on the agenda are October committee reports. A&O committee report. Chair Fisher will provide the A&O committee report.
I don't know, I kind of feel that today's a big day for the A&O committee. The data-driven approach that the board charged this committee with taking, I think, had a nice impact. We see that in the presentation that's going to come later on earned honors, on the program of studies, on data-driven decisions going on elsewhere in the district. So these are topics that have been discussed, and I think we're on the right path, but we still have a lot of work to do. In terms of other things discussed, we went through the data decisions presentation, and I think Keith has made some nice improvements to it based on the community and committee member feedback. We have new 4-year planning tools are being integrated to better allow families to take advantage of our program of studies. That's been a nice thing to come out of the committee. Earned honors is better understood as a result of the discussions we've had. Committee members still see pros and cons, and I think we're able to give, advice to administration about where to head with that topic. And the campus by campus comparison shows strong courses at both schools and a near entire overlap in terms of opportunities afforded to our students, especially in dual credit and honors level options. So those are the topics we discussed. In terms of next steps during November, we intend to take a deep dive into student availability So which students are able to take our core classes and how does that impact our ability to offer a full range of courses at both campuses? And then we plan to produce a culminating report on where we've been this year to foster a board discussion in December about which direction we should head with A&O. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Fisher. Policy Committee report. We covered elements of the Policy Committee report as we reviewed policies for first read. Are there any further questions about the report?
Nope.
Moving on to the HR Committee report. Chair Mitha will provide the HR Committee report.
Much of what we discussed has already been trickling up to the meeting tonight, and we will discuss some more of it later. Do you have any questions about HR at this time? No? All right, that's the report. It's short and sweet.
Thank you. Finance and Facilities report. The Finance and Facilities Committee report is posted. In Chair Waters' absence, I would like to echo his recognition of the pool task force. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to extend our sincere appreciation to the pool task force for their thoughtful input and collaboration with District 86. The work of the pool task force has been instrumental in guiding key projects within our aquatic facilities, including the Dectron rebuild at Hinsdale Central, the central and south pool deck and locker room tile remediation, replacement, and warranty work. We also thank the task force for helping us explore solutions for temperature moderation in the spectator seating areas, such as the addition of large fans. Your dedication and expertise have helped ensure these projects reflect both the needs of our students and the high standards of our community. I thank you. Are there any questions about the F&F report?
We miss academic. That's all right.
Sorry.
It's okay. We get to it.
Academic Committee report, Chair Satchwell. I apologize. Will you provide the Academic Committee report?
Absolutely. So we talked about the first review of the program of studies and the department updates to be coming before the academic committee beginning in November. I met with Member Mitha and the curriculum leadership teams at each school to talk about the template for those presentations, so I look forward to seeing those begin. And then we talked about some next steps and committee recommendations, which you can see there, what's coming up for our November agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I almost. IASB 2025 Resolutions Committee report. As our IASB Governing Board Representative, Member Satchwell will review the IASB Resolutions Committee report for discussion by the board.
Yeah, this year it was pretty light in terms of resolutions. There was actually only one proposed, and it's fairly straightforward, just obtaining more options for funding for transportation for schools. All of the others are constitutional amendments and updates to language within the IASB Constitution, and some of them around things like the delegate assembly, making it more accessible to more school districts, and still incentivizing districts to travel to the conference for the delegate assembly. So some, but some kind of boring language stuff. So this year is pretty light. So I hopefully will, have a lunch break too. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to. Thanks for doing it.
Thank you for doing it. Moving on to discussion items. We added at the beginning of the meeting building plan updates from Principals Walsh and Caranto. I'm wondering if you guys can give us really brief updates right now.
Absolutely. As many of you saw from our Q1 update, South has been focusing on a lot of different areas, really building on culture, our instructional practices, and our overall building systems. A couple things I just want to highlight today have been our attendance and the focuses that we've been doing within South of that, as well as our look and learns for best practice. So you might have seen reported in a newsletter not that long ago, we reported Hinsdale South was proud to share our average daily attendance rate rose from 93.94% to 95.22% compared to the exact same time last year. While the 1.28% might seem minimal, That actually translates to 172,000 instructional minutes gained from students being in class every day during that window of time. That's a huge thank you to the team and all of the supports that they put into place. A lot of interventions and supports that we're doing more this year than in previous years have been partnerships with families, home visits, and maybe incentivizing with our students with off-campus lunch or things like that. I would be remiss to say all of those things are wonderful, but students have to have a sense of belonging to want to come to school every day and be successful. And that's been a big focus, so I'll shift talking about Look and Learns. Our Look and Learns for best practice has really focused on 3 areas. One of them was belonging, engagement, and motivation. And again, these are things that we are seeing when we go into the classroom. We are seeing our students doing in order to assist them with growing in the classroom every day. When I reported out on the first quarter report, we had only finished a first cycle, but since then we have finished 2 complete cycles. We're almost done with cycle 3, and during that time, each cycle we have visited over 100 classrooms, 114 each time. So we've seen 97% of our teachers during both cycles, and I shouldn't say the teachers, but going into their rooms to see our students. And we're collecting our data after this next cycle, so we're excited to report out on that in quarter 2 report. And just what we're seeing with regards to those 3 areas of belonging, engagement, and motivation. Before I hand it over to Principal Walsh, I do just want to commend and thank our staff for the tremendous work that they've done so far in this quarter, as well as our students. They come and work hard every single day, and just like Asmitha here, they're bright shining stars. So it's been a really good start to the year at South.
Thank you.
Bill Walsh, Principal of Hinsdale Central High School. I want to focus on 2 major areas of the aspirational goals that we defined in July. I want to talk about the student well-being, and when we talk about student well-being, we're focusing primarily on the panorama surveys as well as the additional survey we did this year regarding student relationship mapping network. One of the primary ways both campuses do that is through what we call Red Devil Reflections at Hinsdale Central and South Pride lessons at Hinsdale South. Those are our social emotional learning coaches who are leading those with our students. Both schools do it a little bit different in terms of execution of those lessons, but they are being done and focusing on social emotional learning skills on both campuses. This year's lessons, as Dr. Pronto alluded to already, are primarily focused on those SEL competencies that we all know, but at Hinsdale Central, most of it is on sense of belongingness, and at Hinsdale South, it's belongingness, engaging, and motivation. Those lessons are continuing throughout the year and reaching as many students as we can. On this same lens, 2 surveys, as was mentioned a little earlier today, were administered this month. The Panorama survey was earlier in October for all of our students. And then most recently, which should wrap up by tomorrow, if I exactly remember this, is the student relationship mapping survey, where students are identifying up to 2 staff members that they have a positive professional relationship with. The administration of this survey, after the administration of the survey, the school building leadership teams and the SEL teams will analyze the data to identify students who do not have a positive professional relationship with at least one adult on campus. And at that point, we'll begin to circle up around the strategies and processes to connect those students to our school, our culture, our climate, and our extracurriculars. This work will be done in an effort to find gaps, fill those gaps with care and attention. The other piece I wanted to talk about, which I thought I was going to do tonight with the grading, and I'm not, so I'll circle back on the assessment literacy project here at Hinsdale Central High School. I'll speak just briefly to it, but there'll be much more in the grading presentation next month. But Tony Ribel was on campus on August 11th and 26th. On the 11th, he met all staff to talk about assessment for learning. He gave all educators a preview of the differences we can make in a student's academic performance, outcomes, and advocacy when we use the practice of scrimmage game structure in our lesson designs. His focus is on students developing the requisite skills to understand that they're learning and where they need support, while giving educators an understanding of lesson design that builds student capacity to know when they are ready for that summative assessment we're working on. So, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you so much. And in reviewing the agenda, and in honor of Principal's Day, if you feel comfortable, leaving your APIs in charge of the buildings for the rest of the year. No, I'm kidding. No. For the next couple of discussion items, which we would love for you guys to go home and enjoy your families.
I appreciate that, but I want to stay out.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Thank you so much for bringing this up to us. It was really wonderful to read the reports and hear about the great things going on in your school. If you didn't, I had specific things I was like, if you didn't highlight them, I wanted to highlight because there's excellent things happening. Are there any supports that you need from the board or anything we can do to help you as you're executing on your plan going forward?
I don't know off the top of hand. I know the MTSS is a big one we're working on, and I don't know where we're at on that in terms of financial need or things of that nature. But I think we're working on that report. We met today with a consultant from Infinite Campus to talk a little bit more about that. I think the other one that we're talking about is trying to measure student growth and ongoing. But more specifically on that is meeting the needs of students now, not months after they take some of those national assessments. So you'll probably be hearing some stuff. So I'm jumping this. Nobody told me I could say this, but I don't care. We're gonna probably want to talk in the future about the administration of national assessments and what is the best way for us to do those on campus, particularly in the fall, so that we can meet students' needs in the present time, not months later. Because I mean, even the October testing, we still don't have the results. They're not uploaded to kids' portfolios. And it's going to be a while before all that is done. So I think we're going to want to really have a serious conversation about what the best way to do that. So I'm way ahead of the game, but you asked, so you opened the door in my mind.
That's great. That's great feedback.
I was just going to say, it's a little early to tell. When we submitted these Q1 reports, a lot of our interventions were just beginning. So I'm just interested to see with the team what the data shows throughout the year. So I'm sure I'll have more answers come the end of the year when we're talking about if we've reached our aspirational goals or not, and what that could maybe look like, so.
And I just wanted to highlight something from the TC in particular. There was also some great accomplishments listed there. I wanted to highlight that I noticed that 59 students were recommended for credit-bearing courses at COD. And is that a majority of students at the TC?
It is when you look at the total number, it's a good majority of students who were recommended for those credit-bearing courses. And since you opened the door, I actually was prepared to also speak on TC. So if that's okay, I'll just take this opportunity since I turned my mic on. So in terms of the student relationship mapping survey, as well when we're looking at student belonging and connectedness within the building, we had 71 of our 91 students at TC who were able to be able to actually complete it. And what TC did was they created a Google form and added visuals so that we could make it more accessible for our students. So that's a really high number. That's actually more students that took the student relationship mapping survey than Panorama, because with the student relationship mapping survey, since it was something we created, we were able to adjust it and create those visuals. With regard to Panorama, so at this point we have about 54 of the 70 students who could access that survey take it. So we're keeping our student relationship mapping survey open just for another day or so. So we may get a few more students, but I just wanted to add that. And kudos to Katie DeCiani and Katie McHale for making sure that our student relationship mapping survey was accessible to the majority of our students, because again, we're trying to find out who they identify as that trusted adult within the building. And then just in terms of the absenteeism part, we are continuing to make sure that we are meeting with students, meeting with their families if a parent is the guardian, calling them, phone calls, all of those things to just support them to find out what they need to attend. If there are any attendance concerns, trying to figure out how we can better support them, what supports they might need from us. So we are continuing with those efforts to kind of decrease that chronic absenteeism rate. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to pipe in for a second here, Kat, if I may, just thank both administrators and especially Dr. Pronto. Thank you for your hard work on that chronic absenteeism. I know that is a very, very challenging report to be able to make that pivot. I know you acknowledged that it was small, but regardless of how small it is, I completely appreciate what a Herculean effort it takes to change that, and it's impacted our overall district percentages too. So if there's anything we can do to continue supporting you in that and making continue that trajectory. Thank you again.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, plus one to that point, and it looks small, but it's not small because 6% went to something close to 4.7%, which is a 20% reduction in absenteeism. Like, that's huge. That's huge.
Thank you so much. Moving on to actually 6.2, 2026 Superintendent Search Update. 2026 Superintendent Search initiatives are underway across the district. The board has established dates for special meetings for our 2026 Superintendent Search. These dates have been added in D86 Community and posted on the district website. November 20th, Thursday, we have a special meeting at 6 p.m. where BWP will present the community engagement data and draft leadership profile. Monday, December 8th, there's a special meeting at 6 p.m., which will be all closed session, but just for information, will be presentation of the slate of candidates. Friday, December 12th, we have a special meeting at 6 p.m. Saturday, December 13th, we also have a special meeting at 9 a.m. These will be BOE only in closed session for candidate interviews. And Wednesday, January 7th, we have a special meeting at 6 p.m. Thursday, January 8th, we have another special meeting at 6 p.m. Also closed session, and these will be final candidate interviews. Member Mitha, will you provide an update on the position posting and community engagement interviews or initiatives?
Sure, happy to do that. I mean, I think it's a good thing we seem to get along because we'll be here with special meetings quite a bit, but that's okay, it's worth it. So yesterday BWP had their first few days of community engagement sessions. They met with nearly 150 staff members from Hinsdale South and Central, and big shout out to Bill and Carrie for encouraging their staffs to come to that. That's incredibly important for feedback. Students from both high schools, adult leaders of our high school volunteer groups, and the first of 2 in-person evening community feedback sessions at Hinsdale Central. So next week, BWP on November 3rd will be holding feedback sessions with other employee groups, including the TC, as well as meeting with a group of local city and village leaders. There are 3 opportunities for the community to provide feedback on Monday through virtual sessions at noon and 6 p.m. and an in-person session at 6 p.m. in the Hinsdale South Auditorium. Links to the virtual session can be found on the D86 Superintendent Search webpage. Thank you to Alex for making that happen, and Jody, of course, for being on that. All the stakeholders have also been invited to complete an anonymous survey to share their perspective. The link has been emailed out, shared on social media, and posted again on that Superintendent Search page. All of this feedback is really, really important, so please take a few minutes, 10 minutes, and fill that out. Every little bit of feedback will help us to find the right person to lead our district. And that will inform the leadership profile that BWP will give to us on November 20th. The other thing I did want to highlight is that I'm going to be working and talking with BWP further on what the schedule will be for these finalist interviews. We're going to do something a little atypical, and what that means for us is having more of a full day interview process. We want to make sure that the candidates get to know our schools, that they get to know our district, that they know our people. So among other things, we're looking at finding ways to do potential school tours, having an interview with cabinet, and also an interview with representatives from the union and non-unionized staff, also interview with the board. So I'm working on this with BWP. This is in January, so we're way ahead of the curve here, but want to make sure we get it on everyone's calendars as soon as possible, because again, the feedback is absolutely vital to picking the right person. Jody, did I miss anything? Did I get everything? It was a lot.
Yeah, no, I think that covered it. I think one of the important things to mention about that final interview piece is that's our time to shine as a district, because yes, we'll be choosing them, but they'll be choosing us. So having that day, really showing them what a great community we have, school community, et cetera, I think will be really important.
Liz or Jody, do you know if the community survey went out to our feeder districts as well? To ask them for input?
No, we sent it to our villages, like villages and cities, but it didn't go to feeder districts.
Can it go to our city district? You just ask
Yeah, we
them
can
to
share with
spread
the
word as well?
superintendent, yeah.
That'd be great.
I think we'll just have to clarify, some of our feeder districts actually feed to multiple high school districts. We just have to clarify with the superintendents or the administration.
Make sure they point out that it's for our district,
Yeah.
not 99.
Yeah. But that's a great idea. Thanks, Mary.
Quick thank you to Liz for being such a leader on this topic, and thanks to Jody and Deb and Kat for also playing a vital role. I feel like the level, and Alex, and I feel like the level of planning on this January event is gonna leave an impression on this candidate. And, that'll add to this story you're telling.
I mean, the hope is whether someone is, if we, ideally we get this down to 2 or 3 candidates, whether the person that we select, we of course hope they select us as well and opt in, but whomever we don't select, we want them to have a wonderful experience with us because you never know, they could be with us later on down the road. So I think it behooves us to turn this into a learning experience for all of us as well.
Liz, I just want to point out, your inclusive approach. And I really appreciate that, our multiple bargaining units will be able to have an impression session with the candidates as well as non-organized employees, as well as our cabinet. It's really important, thank you. I'd also like to thank Jody, Alex, and Deb for all your hard work. It's a lot, and we're not through it, so we have just a couple more months, but we'll get through it. And then, yes, we have another 2 key positions to fill, but we'll be pros by that time.
We'll be pros and we're working on that more next in HR committee next week, so stay tuned, there's more excitement.
All right, thank you. Grades and grading was postponed, and Kurt and Chris, I know you're sad, but we'll have you back in November. Okay, and then we'll go to the 26-27 Program of Studies first read. Annually, the Board of Education approves the Program of Studies for the following school year in November. A first read of the Program of Studies is presented to the Academic Committee and then the Board of Education in October. This year, the Program of Studies was also subject of the work of the A&O Committee. The 26-27 draft Program of Studies incorporates observations from the A&O Committee, the Academic Committee, and the Board. Updates to the Program of Studies directed by the Board will be previewed by the Academic Committee for the second read and returned to the Board for action on second read in November. Are you guys presenting?
Yes, we are.
Fantastic, thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for having us here tonight to present to you the first read of the Program of Studies. As you know, the Program of Studies is a very long and process and is a labor of love for both Kurt and I tonight. So we are excited to present to you all the work that we have done. And really the document that you see here is a combination of all of the work that has been occurring throughout this district and really encompassing the feedback from many of our stakeholder groups, primarily from the A&O Committee, but then also from the Academic Committee, our community members, staff, students, families, etc. And so the purpose of what you see tonight is we've provided you with a memo which we will go through and highlight the changes, and then also the full Program of Studies in its full entirety for you to review here. The purpose or the timeline that we have presented is we created the full Program of Studies as a first read, and sent that to the Academic Cabinet, which provided some feedback. We've incorporated that feedback into both the memo and this actual PDF that you see tonight here for you, and that's the feedback that we will go through. To begin, within the program of studies, we made some changes and updates to the entire document. And really what that is it was feedback from the A&O committee and from some of our families, and that included a lot of general formatting updates to make it more readable and easier to find information throughout. In addition, we created more consistent formatting and the way in which we named or called out things. So for example, we labeled things more specifically housed at Central or housed at South to be able to really identify when things were happening or where they were happening within our district. We also added a course availability chart for every department to better identify all of the courses within the department and which grades students could elect to take that course. Finally, as we were creating some of the formatting, we wanted to be able to identify when courses were typically stacked. And so for those courses who are historically stacked at one of our buildings, we added some verbiage to be able to share that with families so that they had an idea as that may impact their choice of course or not. Finally, in result of the scheduling conversations that we had with A&O, we were able to look at some of our singletons or doubletons and the way that it was running. And in some cases, we were able to identify.
Oh, it just moved. It did move.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, you moved it? Yeah. What page do you move it?
Is there another one for the boxes of creative nonfiction?
Can you put the memo up, Sam?
Yes. Yeah, the memo would be great if you don't mind, Sam. Thank you very much. What we have done is in various cases, within the course description, we have identified when the course may be running, if possible. And that's really on historical patterns in terms of interest and when it typically would have run at either or both of those buildings on the next page, if you will. And so for the two examples that we have provided here are creative nonfiction, where we have fully identified, for instance, that this is a course that at Central will run first and second semester and at South only first semester, or lifetime activities, where in both cases it will only run second semester in the building. This is to help give students and families an idea of when these courses are running so they can specifically match up semester courses to be able to complete a more complete schedule, and hopefully will reduce the number of course denials or requests that end up later down the process here. Within the first section of the program of studies then, we really work to reorganize the information that is in that page to be a little bit more comprehensive and also follow a better organizational flow to provide students and families. So we've identified sections and then specific subsections. Within those subsections, some of the main changes that we made as a result of feedback is that we eliminated the independent study courses when they appeared in different departments, and we, instead of listing them separately, we labeled them all together within the prologue here. And so to be very clear, we are not eliminating the opportunity to take an independent study course. That opportunity still exists, but what was different is some departments had them listed as its own course, some did not, when in reality there is an option for any student to take an independent study course in any department. So rather than individually list them, and sometimes we didn't, we wanted to specifically call it out in one section at the beginning. We also added a 4-year section plan worksheet into the program of studies. Now we know that students do 4-year planning already, and they have done that for many years with their counselors, but we wanted to provide a worksheet within the program of studies to allow families to have some of those conversations at home, and they could even bring that type of worksheet into their meeting with counselors. That's, our counselors are already doing that work here, so that will just continue to help that conversation and the meeting that they have with their counselors. In addition, we added verbiage regarding the PACE framework, as well as some of our career pathways that we have developed over the last year, as well as updated language regarding the PE substitution process, student schedules, AP courses, etc. here. So that's kind of an overview of the changes in the document. Now Kurt and I will specifically go into some specific changes and go department by department to identify what you can see and expect there. The first one is the AP Capstone department. It's not technically its own department, but we did want to list it separately because it is very unique. It was 2 courses. Students will take AP Seminar, and then they have the ability to take AP Research. This was prior only listed at Hinsdale Central, and so for this first year we will be offering AP Seminar at Hinsdale South for students to enroll without having to travel. Our future plan then, based on student enrollment and interest of that cohort, if there's enough to run it this next year, we would then potentially bring a year from now, offer to take or to run AP Research at South the following year. The reason that you don't see both of those courses running next year is you have to take AP Seminar in order to take AP Research.
All right, in our CTE department, specifically starting with business, we are recommending eliminating digital literacy 1 and 2 due to consistent low enrollment in both buildings. In the FACS department, eliminating personal relationships, again due to consistent low enrollment. Again, independent study no longer listing that as a separate course, but it still exists in all departments, as Chris spoke to. And then in tech ed, eliminating our graphic communications courses and really combining them into a single graphic design 1, 2, and 3 courses that are housed in the art department. So some consolidation because there was really some overlap in the course structures there.
Within the English department, we propose eliminating academic reading 2 due to consistent low enrollment. It hasn't been a course that's run in many years at both schools. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have established a rotation of junior and senior electives to schedule their courses either first semester, second semester, or both, depending on the course and the building to best meet the needs of the master schedule. The goal is if we can do better at identifying when that course might run, that might help students and families be able to choose which courses they're taking and which years that they are taking junior or senior year. Along that lines, we propose eliminating the course Literature, Science, Technology, and the Individual. That is a course that has run, however, it is a singleton and there is typically very low enrollment in that course. Rather, we would like to kind of focus some of that enrollment into one of our other courses and hopefully draw some interest in one of the other 9 junior or senior English courses that we have. In addition, we propose eliminating the earned honors credit for psychology and literature and creative nonfiction. We feel that it created a hierarchy within the junior senior electives because they were the only 2 that hadn't earned honors credit while the others did not. And so we propose leaving earned honors credit within the English electives, which are journalism, acting 1, or not acting 1, acting 2, and advanced acting, but not within the junior and senior English courses. That way all of them are the same and it does not create an artificial hierarchy of those courses, but rather we're asking students to really take a course that is of interest of them, but then also that they're engaging in a rigorous writing course and a literature course each year. Along that lines, we would label acting 1 and 2 and advanced acting as running as semester 1, again to be clear about when that opportunity would be available for students. Within our fine arts department, we would identify that AP Music Theory and AP Art History itself do not run. If they do not run this year, that they could be offered in alternating schedules moving forward. The reason that we didn't want to start with the alternating years this year is due to some of our seniors who were thinking that they maybe have the opportunity to take that class this year. And so we wanted to be very forthright and talk about this in the future so that our freshmen, sophomore, and junior students could plan out that 4-year and plan with the fact that these courses may become run on an alternating schedule if there are not enough interest in this year. Specifically within the art department, we propose eliminating animation 1 and 2 due to low enrollment. Like Kurt said, we propose not only eliminating those, but there is some carryover between some of our graphic arts courses. And between those courses, the graphics communications that was in tech ed, and then the digital imaging and graphic design, we propose really bringing all of those contents together into what we would now call graphic design 1, 2, and 3. We feel that would allow, our teachers felt that name would really be able to unite those existing courses, the interest in students, and be a better name to identify what students would learn in that course.
Can I ask you a real quick question, Chris, with regards to fine art and adapting an every other year schedule? The AP Music Theory and AP Art History, you're saying only at South, doesn't run in 26, 27, then you may start the alternating course, alternating your courses. But at Central, AP Music Theory doesn't run regularly. also.
Correct. It would be AP Music Theory at both buildings and AP Art History itself. Typically, AP Art History has been over that capstone. I think this year we're close to 20 students, so that has more consistently run. But AP Music Theory at both buildings on the alternating schedule potentially, and then AP Art History itself, which hasn't consistently run, could go to an alternating schedule as well.
So if AP Music Theory runs at both campuses next year, would that be considered the first year of the alternating schedule?
Then in our mind, if they're able to both run this year, we would not propose an alternating schedule because there could be enough potential to be able to run it at both campuses every year.
Okay.
So we'd like to see where enrollment is this year before we do it, and if it's not, then we would propose alternating from here on out. But if there is enough to run it and be able to run it successfully at both campuses, we'd like to keep it on knowing that it's a capstone course.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Within music, we propose eliminating modern music exploration. This was a newer course with a wonderful idea for students who have no music experience and to get into the music curriculum. However, students with us that come to the music department typically have music experience, and so there was never enough students to run this course, unfortunately.
Chris, I'm going to ask you to pause. We don't have physical quorum right now, so we need to pause the meeting. Member Fisher had used stepped up. Thank you. Okay, sorry, Chris. Will you continue?
Absolutely, thank you. In addition to music, we wanted to specifically list that wind ensemble honors and orchestra courses would be housed at Central to make it very clear where those courses are so that it's not a surprise when they were not running in one building or another. And then finally, the last proposal is we have always had early bird jazz opportunities at both schools, but the way that students engaged in that content and curriculum looked a little bit different in terms of the days of the week that they attended and the credit that they got. And so our music department teachers came together and they streamlined the options that it would be the same at both schools. And so what they have proposed is that they would offer jazz lab and jazz ensemble at both schools, which would eliminate early bird jazz band and early bird advanced jazz lab. And so really what we're saying here is the same opportunity will exist for both students at both schools as it has for years, but rather we're aligning the way in which students are able to take that course and the credit that they are giving because they will take it the same days of the week.
All right, in the math department, again, the independent study course math topics will no longer be listed individually. It'll be rolled into all our independent study courses. We're proposing to eliminate the standard level pre-calculus course as it's redundant with our very successful in their first year AP pre-calculus AB and BC courses. We wanted to update the language in those course descriptions just to make sure we provide clarity about the intended audiences, specifically the AB course, that if students are taking AP pre-calculus AB as seniors, it may be, the interest may be because they know they're going to have to take a college level calculus course. And then lastly, indicating that the Math Topics CS Computer Science Honors course at Hinsdale South typically does run as an independent study and is stacked with our AP Computer Science A course. Again, just to be very clear about the reality of that course at Hinsdale South. In our multilingual department, we're happy to continue to expand the multilingual offerings that we have at Hinsdale South. So next year we'd like to offer consumer economics, chemistry class, as well as Algebra 2 trigonometry. And again, based on student requests and student interest. In our PE department, similar to what Chris mentioned in some of the other areas, indicating specific semesters that courses will run, just to be clear, so we can help students and families when they're making their choices about which courses they're interested in taking.
Within social studies, we propose eliminating American diversity and multicultural studies due to consistent low enrollment courses that have not run in multiple years, as well as philosophy and ethics due to low enrollment there as well. We also will indicate that students who enroll in World History Honors at Central and World Studies Honors at South can self-select to study and take the AP Modern World History exam, but specifically call it is not a test prep course. There's some content that is similar, but the student has the ability to enroll in it, but it would be self-studying on their own in order to do so.
In the science department, updating the prerequisite section of AP Physics 1, just to clarify that students in both the biology first and physics first sequences can take AP Physics 1. It would just be where in the sequence they would take those courses. So just to make that clear that it is an option for really any student.
And then finally, in world language, we propose combining Spanish 5 Honors Latin American Studies and Spanish 5 Honors at South to a new Advanced Spanish Honors course. The reason that we did that is prior at Hinsdale Central, we had two different Spanish 5 Honors courses, a Spanish study and a Latin American studies. And then at South, they have Spanish 5 Honors. And so our proposal here is to really bring all of that content together and create one Advanced Spanish Honors course that is really similar in it is an advanced Spanish course based on content or communication and culture from Latin America and Spanish studies, really uniting that wonderful content that we've had for years into one course for students. But specifically, our department wanted to rename the course because of the numbering. And so a student could take this course, what we're proposing is Advanced Spanish Honors, after Spanish 3 Honors, after 4, or after AP. And so they often felt oftentimes the number was confusing for families because they thought they had to take it in a certain order, but they do not. And so they believe by changing the title that should help clear up some of the confusion of when a student could take it. It really is based on interest rather than having to go in a sequence. And then in addition, while we're not proposing it in this, we will bring it forward in the spring for the following school years that we propose ASL 3 course, which will bring you a full course proposal by itself in the spring for then the potential adoption for the following program of studies here. And the last thing I'll say, I know this is a lot of information before, I'm sure you have many questions for us. These were all of the content changes that we have provided for you in the program of studies. We have talked in some of the logistical changes in terms of the way that we will do scheduling as a result of ANO. We will unite, so the scheduling process and the information that we put in Infinite Campus will be united and the same. That just wasn't a place within the program of studies to say, but to let you know, we've already been thinking and working with our departments. That is and will be streamlined for next year as well as we begin thinking about the way in which we enroll students within these courses and complete the process, which will begin in about a month.
Keith, I'm going to ask you really quickly if you can provide just some general understanding on what's going on with data and Infinite Campus and how we're streamlining.
Absolutely. So I was going to mention this at the beginning of the next presentation, but I'll do it right now. So we've got a data governance process in place, and we've been having some really good conversations with ANO. I appreciate the conversations that we had with committee members, with community members, really good conversations. As we get feedback, we're continuing to look at data, and I'm really excited to start looking at the data and getting some of the things corrected that we need to get corrected. So with this data governance process that we have in place, it's going to set the tone for the future. So even after my retirement, I know there's gonna be a lot of booze in the room for that, but even after my retirement, it's gonna set the stage for future admins to be able to move forward and find artifacts, information that's been presented before very easily. So that's really a recap of what we're doing. Additionally, with the data consultant work that's going on, we're identifying fields and information that's not in campus right now to be able to collect that data to report back to the committees. I think is valuable information. And I really appreciate coming from the board, coming from A&O committee, that they've identified these pieces of data that we need to have instead of just having it on a PDF. We need to have it somewhere else, and the place to have it is Infinite Campus. I call it the truth, source of truth for us. So we're gonna get there. It's just, it's a lot of hard work getting there, but we will get there.
Thank you so much for your work.
The four-year planning tool as well, could you, quick story on that?
Sure. So we have a plan in place for having the four-year planner up in SchoolLinks, an application called SchoolLinks. All the courses from Infinite Campus after the program of studies is approved. Those will be updated in Infinite Campus with different tags. That information will be set up to SchoolLinks to present to the student and to the family an option for them to navigate through a four-year plan to select their courses, core courses, elective courses, etc. So I'm really excited about doing this work and bringing this to fruition by summer next year, we should have it in place.
And page 6 of the draft program study has a paper version of that, so people can get ready now.
Okay. Does the board have any questions regarding the changes to the program of studies?
I'll go. Okay, so thank you. This is a strong step forward. I look at some of the changes, like adding the capstone courses, AP Seminar, AP Research, AP Art History at South is a great example of offering the same opportunities to all students. I wouldn't be that shocked if we see some low enrollment in the first year. It sometimes takes years, as you pointed out, for these to burn in. For AP History in particular, if we end up in a low enrollment situation, would you be willing to consider ideas like cross-listing that as a social studies and an art course? Like, is that the kind of stuff that we might do in year 2, 3, 4 as this rolls forward?
Are you talking in general or specifically?
Let's say in general, yeah.
Yeah, I think in general, those are some conversations that we are open to. The one difficult thing if we talk about AP Art History is that course in particular, it deals with the state course code. And so depending on how you list a course, it gets to teacher credentialing and then the credit in which we want to offer it. So that course is the one complication thing where I know some schools list it as a history, but it's often taught by a history course and that gives students credit within the social studies department. So it would be a larger conversation for us to have in terms of a district and where we see that course.
It's no secret, like a lot of people, maybe including me, would have liked to see even more change. Could you say just a little bit about kind of the law of unintended consequences? So as an example, we're being really clear about which classes are stacked. That may actually kill those classes. They were stacked because they're low enrollment. We believe they're good opportunities for kids. How are you going to navigate change over time from that perspective?
It's a really great question, and I know there's some feedback that we've gotten of wanting more changes within this program of studies, and I think we, as both an API team, but then in general feel the changes that we presented to you, we wanted to do a first kind of stab or look at it. We didn't want to make too many at one time because we know that when you move so many pieces in the puzzle, it could, using your words, Member Fisher, have unintended consequences. We wanted to make a first round of changes, including eliminating courses or identifying stacking or what semester they are, to see how the master schedule falls this year, because this is a lot of change for one master schedule, and then be able to come back in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall to have some of these conversations and identify what those next steps are. Do we need to make some additional changes, whether that's identifying things in different ways or creative solutions or things like that? So we really feel that this was a great kind of first step to see what that is. The second part, to answer your question about the stacking, if those are some unintended consequences, I think that's a reality that we need to discuss as a district, but the whole purpose of this is we want it to be very clear and upfront with our families. And so if a stacking, identifying it killed the course, that would be very unfortunate, but we do want to be very clear that that was likely going to happen. And so we wanted to be upfront with our students and families so that we're not hiding any information, but rather they can make the most informed decision based on them, their interests, how they learn, the way that they want to engage with that content or curriculum.
Thank you, Chris. Asma? Or did you have more?
I may still.
I'm sorry,
No,
Bob.
Asma can go too.
I'm good. No, I'm good. Thank you. I know we went through this with the academic committee. I appreciate the updates and the details and the collaboration between the academic community and the community. It's great work that we've accomplished.
Okay, I'll just, a couple more. I know, it's sensitive. There has been talk of a model where for certain electives or the third-year English courses, where we sometimes can't run all those courses, where students might, or singleton courses, where students might indicate up to 3 physical ed courses that they are interested in taking, or they might indicate 3 of those third-year English courses that they prefer. And then we would consider it a success, if we got them into one of them, and we would follow their order of preference or whatever. Is that something that students will be aware of at registration time, or does it need to be in the POS so that they are aware of it?
I think that's a really great question. I don't think it necessarily needs to be in the POS because that's a logistical part of the scheduling and we typically don't include that in there. I think that's a lot more of the things that we have agreed to do between the buildings, so the way that we input those requests are consistent. We can identify both the way in which we put them into Infinite Campus and label them as a request, but then also that we're identifying either 3 or 4 choices for PE and English, for example, on those, so that's streamlined. I think the biggest piece that we do is being able to share that with our teachers who have and do presentations before course selection in their English class and actually go into more detail about the courses and the content and the options, but also with our counseling department there. I think that's where it's most important and vital because that's where some of the best conversations happen, as well as the individuals who do the work and input them to make sure that all of that data is correct.
Great. The last thing to consider, I guess my last concern is we've tried to have a perfect program of studies for years. And at the end of the day, we all know the thing that makes the biggest difference is the teaching that goes on in the classroom. Is there any office hours or room to run this program of studies by teachers before we approve it next time? And maybe adjust it based on what you hear from them, or has that already taken place and I needn't worry about it?
I think, there are certainly teachers that have been very involved, and others less so, depending on the department, depending on, we work closely with all the department chairs, and as they go through very carefully all the course descriptions and the changes that are being made and so forth. It's certainly something we could offer, our teachers to have an opportunity to provide input, and encourage them, if they haven't taken a look recently, to look at the program of studies.
Yeah, we're blessed on this board to have 3 educational professionals. 4 of us aren't, and it's great to engage those folks in this process if you have time or if there's room for that.
I'd also offer another suggestion. If board members want to talk to specific department chairs and ask questions about these changes and how they feel about them, or teachers, it would be great if you, Kurt, at South, and you, Chris, at Central, could coordinate those times. Okay, Beth?
Great.
Anybody else? No? I know you did not include the logistics of stuff, but I really would like to understand if we're going to be able to offer some type of shuttle service if you see there are kids from one campus, 4, 5, 6, going over to the other for a course. We're spending more money, Josh.
And that maybe is a great lead into our next presentation,
Uh-huh.
because we have some slides on alternatives. So with that, we bring our wonderful colleague Keith up.
Great. So, is everybody comfortable? First read program of studies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your work. I know it's been a challenging couple of months, but we were able to get through the hurdles and we are all rowing in the same direction, which is a great feeling. Thank you.
Hey, while
If I just may, Kat, before we move to the next presentation, I appreciate everybody's work again. There was a lot of collaboration between all the key stakeholders. And as we move to that second grade, I just want to encourage all my board member colleagues that if there are any questions or edits or changes that we give that opportunity to happen between now and that second grade so that we are ready to launch when it is needed to put into implementation.
Yeah, on this next topic, I was talking to Keith about just a quick preamble, and then I'll be quiet. So at the last A&O committee meeting, there was strong discussion around the topics in these slides. Member Satchwell requested a 5-year review of honors credit trends to assess any impact the earned honors pilot had. After looking at this data, I mean, Keith, I think it's great. We're all pleased to report that honors credit offerings have increased since the pilot. In fact, honors credits earned have steadily increased over the past 5 years. That means we're challenging our students and they're earning their honor status. This confirms that the district continues to provide rigorous opportunities to students. Keith has a ton of data insights in here. I think we can expect to see more data-driven presentations like this in the future. But I just thank you for all the work that went into this. And Keith, I know the whole team helped with this, so thanks to everybody.
Very big team effort. I appreciate that, Member Fisher, and I also appreciate working with you and the lively discussions when you're on the road with Buster, the dog. It's always good conversations.
So I'd like to add one thing, is Keith, your understanding of our data-rich environment and all of the data that we have really has helped administration provide data evidence on everything that you guys have been saying for quite some time. Yeah, and the reasons we did honors and earned honors. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Well,
Chris?
let me, we're moving on to 6.4. As discussed with the A&O committee in October, the APIs and CIO will present data and information on 1, honors options, 2, earned honors credit pilot, 3, course offerings and the differences, potential, hybrid, and travel.
Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to present tonight. We have our colleagues, Kurt and Chris that have done a ton of work on this. It's a joy for me to pull the information and start taking a look at it and see if there's any gaps. And I would just ask the board if there are any other data reports that you need in reference to this, please let us know. Because as you know, you can slice and dice data any way you want to do it. So please let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see after a presentation. As we get through it as well, after each section we have Q&A, but feel free if there's that burning question you need to ask on a slide, just let us know, we'll be happy to answer it. So tonight we're going to go through, next slide Sam, is talking about honors options, earned honors credit pilot, course offering differences and potential hybrid and travel options. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt Boname to start discussing the earned honors pilot and how it started back in 22-23.
Thank you, Keith. So the first bullet, I think, is one just for everybody to understand. Really, history and tradition have driven the honors course options in the district for many years. There hasn't really been a formulaic way that we've offered honors in our various departments. In 22-23, we began the Earned Honors Pilot, and we began with 4 courses. 3 of them were new classes for the district, so there was creative nonfiction and psychology and literature in the English department, and then exploring visual arts. And then the fourth course was Introduction to Business, which had an honors option at South, but not at Central. So those were the first 4 earned honors courses. We expanded the offerings in the following 2 school years to include additional upper level elective courses. And then as we spoke about in our previous presentation, we're proposing eliminating earned honors in the 2 junior-senior elective courses, so creative nonfiction and psychology and literature, so that all of the junior-senior elective courses in the English department would just be standard level courses. The next series of slides shows you department by department courses that either have an honors option or don't have an honors option in each of our elective departments. And you can see EH stands for earned honors. So for example, in the art department, all of the honors offerings currently are earned honors. In the business department, it's a combination of classes that, for example, Business Law 1 or Accounting, Internship that have an honors option, have honors options, as well as some that are earned honors. In the English department, it's the elective courses that we now either have earned honors or, for example, Acting 1 that does not have an honors option. In FACS, we have a combination of classes that are earned honors as well as classes that have a separate honors option. In music, all of these courses other than modern music exploration do have an honors section or an honors option. In tech ed, we don't have any earned honors, so these are all courses on the left-hand side that have honors option. So you can see for most departments, the honors and earned honors options are consistent between the 2 buildings. There are some differences. In social studies, the World History honors at Central and World Studies honors at South, and then philosophy honors at Central and philosophy and ethics at South. And then in world language, there are some differences. For example, the AP Spanish Literature and Culture class at Central, French 4 honors at Central, and then the Spanish 5 honors that we've addressed in the Program of Studies presentation. And then in terms of core courses, we just wanted to list the core courses that specifically don't have an honors option. So for example, in the English department, it's not to say that every course has an honors option, but at every level, freshman through senior year, students have an opportunity to take either an honors or an AP course. In math, the unique course would be Algebra 1. There is no Algebra 1 honors, so a student enrolling in Algebra 1 has just that one opportunity. In PE, we don't have any honors courses, but we specifically wanted to point out health because it is a graduation requirement, and that does not have an honors option. In science, again, freshman through senior year, students do have honors options at every level. In social studies, again, we wanted to point out civics does not have an honors option. Students can take AP government to satisfy the civics requirement, but the civics course itself does not have an honors option. And then in our world languages department, Spanish 1 does not have an honors course, as well as ASL 1 and ASL 2.
So as Kurt had mentioned, really history and tradition is what has driven the honors establishment or non-establishment of courses throughout our program of studies over the last few years. And one of the things along with it that we have not established is specific guidelines, like some other school districts in terms of what is a standard honors or AP course. This is an example of things that we have done within the building to help guide families. So this is a chart that we use at Hinsdale Central. This is not something that is District 86 policy or procedure at all, but rather this is staff created by our staff and department chairs, really to help families, specifically our incoming freshman families, to help differentiate what could they expect in a standard course versus an honors or AP course when they're making their course selection, because many of them don't have prior experience if they don't have an older sibling here. And so this is an example of the things that really, when we were getting this conversation, it would be important and behoove us to really identify and be able to fully explain. And I think that's part of this conversation that can happen over this next year in terms of really better differentiating and really calling out what does it mean to have an honors versus an AP or an honors credit here. So we wanted to just name it that we know that a chart like this doesn't exist for the district, but that's work that can directly come out of this work and the conversation.
On the next slides, we have the honors credit counts. And Member Satchel had this great idea saying, can we get some honors data for the last 5 years to see if it's, making a difference? Are we reducing opportunities for kids or not? So we were able to pull the data, we pulled it on 10/23, right after the annual committee. And there's redacted information there based on best practices by ISB. So as you look at the 5 years, you can see that each year you had incremental increases in honor credit taking except for 25, 26. If you look at the math, we were looking at it and trying to figure out, well, why did it dip from 24, 25 to 25, 26 in the math department? And what we found out is that pre-calculus honors was replaced with pre-calculus A, B, and BC. So we had a reduction there between the 2 years, but as you look at the final totals here, you'll see it on this slide, it goes from 24, 25, 5807 down to 53, 52. However, the difference making up with the pre-calc A, B, and BC adds an additional 654 AP credits.
Right.
So that number really should be 6,006. So each of the years you can see incremental increases. We haven't reduced opportunities for kids by adding earned honors.
So what happened was, because you said pre-calc A, B, and BC, but it's AP
I'm
pre-calc.
sorry, yes.
So the distinction is, we pulled the data, and this is honors credit. This does not include the AP credit.
Correct.
Mhm.
So on this next slide here, say on the next slide, you'll see 5807, 53, 52, and it shows the difference of the 654 AP students that are enrolled right now for the credit.
Thank you.
Enrollment has been slowly dropping during this time as well, right?
We've had the gradual.
So, the enrollment's going down, the honors credit is going up.
Right. Now,
Students
I
are
can't say that definitively it's gonna happen every year from this point on, but we've seen over the last 5 years how that has continued to grow, which I think is a positive trend.
It's not a data question though, sorry, Keith.
I got APIs for you.
Yep. I'm still not clear on earned honors. The concept is great. We do not have standard practice across the district. We don't even have standard practice in the buildings right now. And it could lead to confusion for students and families, communities, and maybe some frustration even for our teachers, right? So it would be great if you can work on standardizing that so that earned honors has to be declared at the same time across the district in the departments, same courses, right? But also understanding what exactly earned honors means. Because when the pilot was first proposed, it was proposed as, there will be a couple of extra questions on a test. Maybe a little bit more work. We just don't know, right?
I think I can speak a little bit to that. We have our next section is going more into the specifics of earned honors, but while that was, neither Kurt or I were sitting in the seat when the proposal came out, so I can't speak to the specifics of that, but what we have learned over the course of this year and what we've done is we've standardized the earned honors credit in each of those courses. So we've developed a district letter that our teachers send out in the first week of school of how students can earn the credit and all of the work that they need to do. That and what they need to do is standardized within that course between the buildings. And so while earning honors is different in perhaps an art class versus English because their content and curriculum is different based on the way that they do it, and there's some models to that. The way in which we communicate to families, we've learned over the years, we've begun to standardize, and that opportunity between all of the sections of that course are the same, similar to our summative assessments.
So when a student declares that they would like to do the extra work for, say, an earned honors English elective, and they don't complete the work, does the course revert back to grade level at either campus? Does that mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
So in that case, the way that we enroll it is that the student is in the standard level course the entire year. And while they may be doing the work along the way, if they don't complete the work, then at the end of the semester, we do not award them and change the transcript to the honors level, because they haven't earned the honors, they didn't do the work. And so on their transcript, they don't earn the fact that it is, for example, ceramics to honors. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of, but I think it would be great moving forward, Keith, this is a data thing. If in the earned honors courses, we can see how many students moved from earned honors to general honors courses or AP courses. We need to track them year over year. Another thing is also with regards to earned honors, I know you said that you were, the district is going to offer earned honors only in electives, but English is considered core. I understand what you're saying, but can you clarify a little bit? Because you're still offering earned honors in some of the English electives. So I just want to clarify so everybody hears.
Correct, and this is confusing because of the way that we talk about those courses, but there's kind of two categories of courses. The first category is the English courses that a junior or senior would take. Examples of those courses are creative nonfiction, psychology and literature, science, technology, and the individual. Those are courses that a student could take junior or senior year, and only 2 of them currently have the earned honors credit right now. The credit that students earn from that go towards the required 4 credits needed to graduate. We are proposing for the next program of study of eliminating the 2 earned honors credit in those courses because of the 10, 2 have earned honors credit and 8 don't, and we think it creates a hierarchy. Within the English department, there are a series of courses listed on the screen here, acting and our journalism courses that some individuals we consider English electives. These are courses that a student could take, but that does not give them credit for the 4 required credits to graduate from Hinsdale Central and the state of Illinois. So while they're housed in English because of the content, they do not give them English credit. And so we're proposing still giving these courses or allowing them to have earned honors credit because it's an elective by nature of content.
Thank you.
Before we go on to the next part, I have another question. Keith, thank you very much, you and both of you to your teams for pulling together this data quickly. I'm curious about, in addition to like number of total credits, the number of students who are taking either an honors or an AP class, and the percentage then of the student body each year that is enrolled in honors and AP class versus regular class. Because I think, the goal of this conversation is to determine whether we want to continue to expand on honors opportunities for students. Is that correct? With the assumption being that, students raised to high expectations, let's present as many opportunities as we can to enrich and challenge them. So I'm curious what the percentage of our students is. And what, how does that compare to other districts, in terms of regular versus honors and AP?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This is still a pilot. At what point isn't it a pilot? And I'll offer one person's opinion. I would love to have the data that Kat's asked for and just call it a pilot for another year. And with that data in mind, make a decision about the future of earned honors. That's just one person's opinion.
So per the AP that supports board policy, we're supposed to have a pilot for a period of 3 years, and that period would include regular updates on appropriate and accurate data. We haven't gotten that. This would be the first time we're actually seeing more comprehensive data. So if anything, this is in year 1 of the pilot evaluation process, and we have 2 more years to go. In my opinion.
We still need to present the earned honors data next.
If I can just ask a quick question, Kat, if I may. I want to elevate President Greenspan's question about processes and standardization of how we're making this decision. Can you let me know when the teachers are assigning the tasks for earned honors, are they going through a protocol of like they're getting department chair approvals? Do they tie those projects to like an AP standard? What is that process looking like when they're identifying those tasks in those courses for students to have that earned honors credit?
Sure, so when classes have added the earned honors credit, they've worked directly with their department chair and Kurt and myself, depending on the course and the designation, in order to establish what it means to earn credit. And so they put together an entire program to outline within that course what do students need to do in order to earn credit. And then that is a conversation that they have, the course team has with the department chair, and then Kurt and I work with them to make sure that there is a level of rigor that's there and it's appropriate for that content and curriculum.
So for example, last year, coming into this school year, we added a number of earned honors courses, and we didn't want to just slap the label earned honors on them and say, great, now we've got new earned honors courses. We wanted to make sure that they were meeting the expectations of what the earned honors is, so that there would be a level of sophistication and expectations for the work that students would have to do to earn honors credit in each of those new courses.
Thank you. So I'm assuming that this is documented, like if I was a teacher of an elective course and I was interested, or there was some requirement that, I was asked by my department chair, that there's some sort of process that's written out and what that looks like. I'm assuming that's documented somewhere and we have a consistent process across the various departments.
I believe we had a document from last year, I think October, that kind of lays out from course to course what those elements of the earned honors credit are that we can go back to and share if you'd like.
That would be great.
I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
As long as it's the actual process that Kurt and Chris are saying is happening in the department.
Yeah, and that information is shared with families as well within that letter. There's where it really spells out for that course of when in, for example, earned honors ceramics 2, in order to earn honors, you need to do that. That's really spelled out there as well for it. So that is information that we want to make available early on for students and families.
Well, now on to the actual earned honors, how it started and the data pieces. So Kurt talked a little bit about 22-23, and he'll give a little bit more of an overview of the earned honors credit process.
So the next series of slides, I believe, were presented in March 2023 at a PTAC meeting, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so these are duplicates of those slides. We just wanted to provide them to provide context for everyone. So the description of earned honors, that it's really about demonstrating additional honors level rigor, sophisticated skills, beyond what we would expect from just a standard level experience in a course. And so you can see the 4 courses there that I had described that were in the pilot. Again, honors credit open to all the students that are in a particular course, so there's no change in the standard curriculum. That's used for all students, but what is a change for those courses that have earned honors is that opportunity to demonstrate that additional rigor, additional sophistication. So in the world of education, a couple of the ways that we talk about that sophistication would be either using Bloom's taxonomy or Webb's depth of knowledge, or DOK. So really the higher level evaluation and creation, when you're talking about Bloom's taxonomy or with Webb's depth of knowledge, that strategic thinking, and you can see all the buzzwords there, but it's really about what students are doing beyond, it's synthesizing ideas, it's creating and sophisticated language and use of expertise beyond just recall of information. And here, this was presented again in 2023, some of the ways. So we had talked about that it could be on a summative exam, that there might be more sophisticated questions that a student would have to answer. It could be differentiated content when a student is choosing a novel study, for example, but it could be the rubric that they in a ceramics course or an art elective. It could be the sophistication that they're demonstrating that's spelled out in the rubric that the teacher has created for that particular project. Again, this is just some history here. So in November 2024, the board voted to agree to expand the earned honors to 8 more courses. So that would be the electives that had standard and honors level offerings. So that would be our journalism classes, TSI, our tech support internship, and then also to electives that only had standard level offerings. So those would be the advanced acting, acting 2, childcare, culinary 2, and marketing. And I spoke to this a minute ago, but just, that, some of the hardest classes that students experience, they have to recall a lot of information or remember a lot of things. But it's not, when it comes to honors credit and earned honors, it's not just about what you can memorize or what you can recall. It's that you're actually having to evaluate, apply, extend your knowledge, extend your understanding, and demonstrating that advanced rigor.
And then we move on to the results of the pilot, and again, this data was pulled from FM Campus on October 8th, and there's redaction based on best practices from ISB. So in 2022-23, we started off with 4 courses, and you can see by the count, the student count, the credit count that's been received, and the percentages that are in the columns that at the end of 22-23, Central had a 53% rate of students achieving their honors credit, and then South received 29%. I do have to note here, based on the enrollments at the schools, that any little increment or decrement of credit count by the student receiving credit, it makes a big difference. So, and you'll see graphically a little bit later on, as we get farther down, the difference in the enrollments and what that looks like as far as participation or earned honors credit courses. 23-24, again, 53% at Central, finished off the year with credit, 34% at South. 24-25, 59% of students at Central completed the course with credit, 31% at South. And here's where we're at. So in 22-23, we started out 4 courses. We went to 14 courses, 8 more in 24-25, 23-24, 24-25. And then this year, we're at 22 courses that were approved last year by the board. So right now, the enrollment count in earned honors credit courses is 1,098 and 754 for South. The yearly recap here shows that we had 59%, well, it was 55% overall for Central that received earned honors credit over the last 3 years, and then for South, 31%. Noting at the bottom that roughly for Central, between the years, 22 to 25% of students take an earned honors course, and in 2026, 43% of students take an earned honors course. Now for South, you'll see the difference that based on their enrollments and students taking the course, earned honors courses, 22 to 25, roughly 26 to 35% of students take an earned honors course. And in 2026, 55% of those students are taking an earned honors course.
But that's likely due to the expansion of
the
earned
additional
honors.
courses.
Right, so I appreciate that data, that's great. But that doesn't necessarily speak to the, how the earned honors pilot is serving our kids. It's just that we're offering more courses right now. Again, it would be great if we could understand, I'm not saying it isn't, to understand. So when earned honors, the pilot was originally proposed, earned honors was also supposed to be kind of the bolster to encourage students to take regular honors courses and AP courses. We need the data on our students. And I'm sure we have it somewhere in Infinite Campus, right, Keith?
I'm sure.
So we can work to pull that so we can track year over year our kids and how much it's helping. Because frankly, there may be some adjustments that can be made to the earned honors pilot to continue to support our students.
I'm still trying to look for information that had that in writing as far as moving on to honors credit. It may have been said at a meeting somewhere, so.
It was the community conversations, Chris Covino, when he first presented the pilot,
Okay.
the earned honors pilot. that was what was explained. I'm not looking to find old slides, I'm telling you what was, there's a recording of those sessions, it was one of the first ones that he did.
We'll look at the information and pull the data for the next meeting.
Yeah, so regardless of whether or not you find a slide or you can hear it clearly on the recording, I'd like to understand how Earned Honors encourages our students to take honors and AP courses, like how they track through the years.
Yeah, one thing I guess I'd add, just color commentary from the discussion we had with the community at A&O. There were a couple committee members who are not on the board, but are community members. And one of them talked about how I was thinking of, you signed up for Earned Honors but didn't achieve it as a problem or a failure. And she talked about how her child has never taken honors courses much, signed up for an Earned Honors, did a bunch of extra work, and then didn't achieve it. And in her opinion, there was more academic growth there. And the comparison she had that I found really apt is, it's like she tried out for the varsity football team. And the child didn't make the varsity football team, but still learned more than they would have without Earned Honors. Those stories resonated personally with me. The other story that I heard that felt like a win was just the how much more kids were getting out of electives because they were held to a higher standard. Part of what we are about as a district is holding these kids to a very high standard. And hearing that from the community member, that the parents want to be held to a high standard, now the kids do too. And there's value in that. And I'm not saying the program is great or not. I'm most interested in what, I don't know, the people in the building say. But those were compelling stories to me.
Next slide, Sam.
The next couple slides, this one just shows some of the research that indicates the benefits of exposing students to honors or AP level coursework who have never been in that experience before. That can challenge students and help them develop skills that are going to benefit them not just in academic coursework, but certainly as they grow into adults. And then just some of the other Earned Honors benefits, and you can see one of them listed here is that idea we talked about, encouraging students to take more honors and AP courses after they've had a positive experience, whether they've earned the honors credit or not. And exposing them to higher level rigor, so that access to, we're going to push you and encourage you to try to reach this standard of what we believe, merits honors work.
And I think, to go back to that remember President Greenspan, you talked about how during this initial proposal in that conversation that Earned Honors was kind of that jumping point for students to take more honors or AP classes. And I think that is definitely something that anecdotally we have seen. But I also think in doing the pilot, we've also witnessed there's a lot of other benefits that I don't think the individuals who proposed it realized at the time. One of the biggest benefits I think is it has opened the possibility for some of our highest achieving students to take an elective course that they may not have taken because before it didn't have the honors GPA boost and they are going somewhere that is very selective, they are looking for a weighted GPA, but now because of the expansion of opportunities, some of our highest achieving students, I know a couple students individually, have taken courses that they said they would not have typically taken. But now that there is the Earned Honors credit, they had that ability to engage and take some elective courses, specifically when art is what they were mentioning that they didn't have before. And so I think what we have found is Earned Honors has opened up some of those other doors that weren't really potentially talked about or discussed at that pilot. And so not only is it helping students sometimes who are tipping their feet into honors or AP, that's wonderful, and I think this is that opportunity. Whether they even earn it or not, there's so much research that says just the experience of taking an AP course or an honors, even if you don't, fully finish it or even take the AP test, is so beneficial. But I think it also helps the completely subset of students as well on the completely other side of our highest achieving students in supporting them to take courses that they're passionate about, that they can get really in depth and provide a lot of rigor for themselves.
Chris, that's a great point. there was the perverse effect that a lot of the low enrollment courses that we talked about, and some of which we said we're gonna have to cut, the fact that there wasn't an earned honors option may have contributed to that. One of the community members was able to describe a correlation, not causality, but a correlation. And that's why I like this idea of having a consistent approach so that we're not steering kids towards electives that have the earned honors option.
And I think art is a really great example. Within the art department, we have many strands of art, glass and metals and ceramics and drawing and painting. Within all of those, level 1 is not an honors class, but level 2 and 3 are. Just if you look at that example of a department, it is easy for families and students to understand where can I get earned honors credit. Within our art department, which is a major credit to our art teachers at both buildings, they've established an earned honors rubric. So students who are engaging in rigorous work, they have a similar rubric between all of their courses, so it is very easy and laid out for what it is, but it's expecting a lot of them, both in the work that they're able to do and the content they're able to do. So I think that's just one microcosm of what a more unified system could be, rather than those original slides that Kurt presented at the beginning, where each department is so different in offerings, and there is opportunity in some cases and there's not in other cases.
Agreed.
Okay, and then I think, Chris, you're gonna take the recommendation.
Yes, so at the A&O committee, the A&O committee asked us to come up with a recommendation for the board. This is something that there was a lot of ideas that presented at that committee. At this point, the only thing that we would recommend potentially is two things. One is removing the word pilot and ending the status, or the other options is really saying status quo other than what we've presented, leaving the earned honors in the courses that it currently exists, minus the two that we've proposed to eliminate it, the psych and literature and the creative nonfiction, those English junior and senior level courses, and really rather give us the opportunity to continue working over this over the next year to provide something that's more concrete for the following program of studies. I think Kurt and I both felt that 1 month to turn something around before the second read is not a lot of time, and we really want to engage our teachers and department chairs and students within this process to say what is beneficial, both on the way that we present earned honors, but also that if we're going to a more unified system, that it meets the needs of our various departments.
And just one additional thing, I think there's an opportunity next year to get student voice into this and do a survey that would make sense. The director of data analytics could put something together, get it out to our students, because I know in 22-23, at the PTAC meeting, they had surveyed students and there was a lot of great feedback in there and some negative feedback as well, but I think it'd be good to get that student voice.
So with regards to removing the word pilot, it's still a pilot. I mean, we hadn't collected the data, we don't have comprehensive data, there's still data pieces out there. I suspect that what you're saying, Chris, is true, but we need the data to support it, right? The board can revisit at a later time. I don't know, what do you think, Liz?
Agreed.
I think we have good data. Before removing the word pilot, we want great data and all those steps that Chris talked about, that Dr. Seuss-Young talked about. Those seem like prudent steps to take before we drop the word pilot. I love the plan you described. In the second bullet, I'm just a little nervous about the first one.
Yeah, and I would just add, to the extent that there are courses that were earned honors across the last 2 or 3 years, they were in the original 4 or in the 14 or still there. We have some data then going back at least 1 or 2 years of courses that we could track over time and get a little more data on this year.
If I could ask for one other thing, just as you're doing that work over the next year, the creative nonfiction has a pass rate that was something like 2%. There might be an acceptable control band, like people probably shouldn't be passing 100% of the time unless it was just the teacher says it was a great class, an outlier. We probably shouldn't be. It'd be nice to get that 2% up and have reasonable expectations. That's one person's opinion, something to think about.
That would be a discussion that you would have with your department chairs, yeah? And then maybe get back to Member Fisher and what you found out. Asma, do you have anything?
No, I concur.
Okay, So, pilot will remain, and we agree with the second bullet. Okay?
Thank you.
And we have one last section to finish this up, travel and hybrid options. Or actually, two more sections.
Two more sections.
Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Course
so-
offering differences, go ahead.
As we were going through this, one of the other requests is to be able to identify some unique courses between the campuses, so we wanted to highlight this for you here. So we have two quick slides to summarize all of the work that we've been doing and the data that we've been pulling on A&O to kind of come together. This first one is the courses that are housed only at one building or another. So these are courses in this school year currently that were identified as only being housed, meaning not talking about running of student interest, but rather they are only taught at one building versus the other. These are things that I wanted to point out. Many of them we're looking to begin to identify and make some solutions. So one of the solutions that we presented in this program of studies is that we've clearly used the same housed at language in all of these course descriptions, which was somewhat different in previous years, so that we've worked to clean that up. We've also worked to begin to decrease this list. So for example, the Spanish 5 honors, that's the proposal to have the same advanced Spanish course between the two, adding AP Seminar to South and some of those others. So while it's not completely eliminating this list in the 1 year, we are working to make some progress to make sure that we can decrease the uniqueness between the courses offered at each school. The next slide is then a comparison of courses that are running. So these are all courses that are offered at both schools, but based on student interest are only running at one school or another here. Again, this is something that will likely happen at every school, at every program of studies, because it's based on student interest, but again, we have denoted with an asterisk things that we are working on to try and make this more manageable. So identifying either specific semesters when a course may run, or are better differentiating it, the school. For example, journalism yearbook honors, that will end because it will be earned honors, which is already approved. So there's some other things in the works to again work on this list as well. So this is just a way for us to kind of summarize all of the work that we've done on A&O and what the committee's really brought back for you.
It's really quite a small list, and having talked about each and every one of these examples, the thought that you both put into this is fantastic. It's easy to say just run all the courses. We are on the state report card. We just saw that we spend 28.3% more per South student than Central student. Kurt would love to add every course, but we can't spend 50% more per South student than Central students. You guys have been great financial stewards of the district, and I want to thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So then the last, at the committee, we were asked to think about some potential hybrid and travel options here. This is a discussion that we had a few years back when we were considering this as well, and we had some preliminary discussions over the shuttle and what it would take to run a similar type service here. So we wanted to provide you with 4 options. These aren't the only 4 options that could exist, but based on our research of other similar schools that run an 8-period day or something similar, these are probably the 4 most realistic if we were to talk about some of these creative solutions that exist here. And what we're doing is we're not necessarily making a recommendation for you tonight, but we want just to provide you with the information as the board in terms of the options, benefits, and considerations. And so the first one is something that we have had within District 86 for many years. A great example is that the student is traveling to the other building. So for example, ASL prior to this year was only housed at Hinsdale South. There was always a small contingent of Central students that wanted to take the course. And so we worked collaboratively between the buildings the best that we could to schedule that either 1st or 8th. It's easier when you only have a couple courses. If you open that up, it becomes a lot more difficult, but we tried between the APIs to schedule at ASL 1 and 2, 1st and 8th. The students would then travel to the other course. And the teacher would stay at their home school to do the teaching. The student would go to that school for just a period. The benefit is it allows students a greater variety of access to courses, all of those that are only housed at the campus. The downside though is that it does take a space within a student's day. So they have to take the course first period, but then they would need a travel period back at some point. even, and I know there's been some discussions of it taking multiple courses at the other building, but at some point you likely have to take a travel period. So it does require the student, in most cases, not always, to have a study hall or some type of other thing within their schedule that prevents them from taking a course, which is the main downside of it. The other downside is the travel is incumbent on the student. So it was the student and the family that prior were responsible for establishing their own travel between the buildings.
Let me ask you a question. With regards to travel outside of core courses, so are we talking, so I guess the question is first, are we talking about travel for core courses only? And would that include world languages? The reason I'm asking is this. For example, Central didn't have ASL for many years. Thank you for implementing. But are there courses where we can earmark those courses as a travel course, meaning the educator in the classroom could, instead of a 50-minute period, plan on a 40-minute period, and we can run a specific shuttle for that period? Does that make sense?
It does.
I know you're smiling.
That sounds like a wonderful question for our assistant principals of operations. That seems like a lovely operations question, and a financial question. I think, is that possible? Yes. I think that would be the discretion that we would need from the board in terms of if a shuttle was running and that was allowed, then we would work with our teachers potentially to make that happen. I don't know that Kurt and I are in the position to fully make the recommendation because that parts of those elements, the logistics of the travel, financial, all those are kind of out of our wheelhouse, but.
Josh, we have the money, right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Josh.
But I guess, Chris, you would also have to decide which of the courses on 35 and 36 do we want to do that for and which ones do we not? That's another
For sure. Is it,
decision you have to do.
yes, is it a shuttle period that runs every period of the day and it's any course, or is it only specific courses, is it?
Right, but we need to figure, like, if we were gonna do something like this, we need to figure it out to let our families know and the students know, even if we were to co-pilot one course offering, right, to see if it can work. I don't know, Mary?
No, that's fair. I'm curious what your thoughts are on rolling out some of these options. Do we pick a course? Do we pick, a few courses to see if it's viable?
Because I'm not sure that we're gonna know until we have student requests in, and then actually you're working out the master class schedule, what the hurdles may or may not be, because students, if we were to say, we're only gonna do one of these options, I don't know that we would really know whether or not any of the four would work, right? Because kids may decide they're just not gonna do it then.
Yeah, I think this is the right framework. We want to provide these opportunities to the students, and I'll call out maybe orchestra is another example. I have no idea if a 6, 7, 8 is the right approach, where students commit to all three, or if it's one period, and then, once we have the gold standard, what's the right way to pilot it? I think we'd be awfully deferential to the, as you said, the APIs for operations, the APIs for academics, the principals, the professionals.
And Josh.
Just anecdotally, I'm a big fan of saying, you take potentially one or two courses at one campus to start your day, and then third period, you go back. And that would be, I think, alleviate some of these concerns about, we've heard some from the community about concern about orchestra, which I know is out there. I am a likely future orchestra parent, but I'll put that to the side. I think that it would alleviate some of those concerns and also provide opportunity for our kids to know each other across the district and build a lot of great relationships too.
In world languages, so Latin, ASL. I mean, maybe those might be too areas that you can say, we're gonna take these couple of courses and try to section them out?
Yes, and the only thing I do wanna say is while things are possible, it is difficult when you look at an orchestra sequence or Latin sequence because of the way that we staff the courses. So for example, when it was just ASL 1 and 2, you could put those at the beginning and the end of the day because you only had 2 options. When you're thinking about orchestra with the 5 courses, not all 5 can be at first or 8th period or something similar because we have an orchestra teacher that teaches all of those. So at some point there will be an orchestra class in the middle of the day. Same with Latin, with 4 levels of Latin, one of them has to be in the middle of the day. So we can try, but I do think that is a hurdle when we're looking at some of course sequences. When they're individual courses, it's a little bit easier for Kurt and I to play with the master schedule, but when we're talking about whole sequence, it does become a little bit difficult. Not impossible, but I just think that's something to consider as we're having that discussion.
Asma, do you have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to suggest it. The only way we're gonna know is if we try, right? And obviously, if we're gonna try, we have to do it with our eyes open and thinking through this logistically. Is it possible to do like a pulse and just seeing how many of our community members would actually, like if we were to do a shuttle, how many would actually do take that option, especially our music families or some of these other opportunities? Because I'm not really sure how we would decide without having more, besides having these theoretical conversations on what these options are.
I agree. I think it is premature for us to choose, like recommend or provide direction in any of these options. We just don't know if anybody's going to even request, right? So it's really important that the data is collected on student requests at both campuses. The initial request, reasons for maybe a second request, so that we can go back and understand.
Which we can do, and I think that will come to the streamline of the course selection process between the buildings will be streamlined. That's something, Brett. The difficult part in any of these, to your point, President Greenspan, is sometimes when the decision is made in the process, it indicates what a student is interested in. So if we're saying up front that a course is a travel course, orchestra for an example, prior to a student choosing it, the fact that it's a traveling course for a self-student to Central may indicate whether they want to take it or not. Vice versa, if we wait till after course requests are in because of low enrollment as a solution, that also can indicate sometimes in change of a family or a student's decision. So either way, it gets difficult because depending on when that decision is made and when the family thinks about it or knows about it or when we have more information, it can trigger different decisions for that individual student.
But if we're specifically talking about orchestra, we can communicate with the sender districts and speak to the music directors, band directors, and see if they have students that are playing orchestra instruments right now. And then the district can communicate with the incoming 9th graders to see if they would be interested, if they're matriculating into South, to take an orchestra course. To me, that is how we would best serve our kids.
I'm not sure that the band directors of the sender districts going to South will necessarily know. Personal experience, like if these instruments are not offered, then they're taking them privately and their band instructors just may not be aware.
Then we can just ask the administration to send out a survey. Is that okay? Does that sound like something? Yeah.
And as a parallel process, can we get a sense of what, some rough expenditures would be or logistics around shuttling versus teachers traveling?
Last year, it was $152 per route per day. Each route could hold 48 kids.
Okay.
But we might not have 42 kids traveling, and we also have those minibuses.
Right, that's what
that
I'm
can be
wondering,
used by security.
in-house buses
Yeah,
versus
so
first student buses. I was just curious what.
That's why I'm recommending we do some type of pulse survey. I personally, as one person, would be willing to support something like this if I had a better idea in terms of what is the viability of what's the need, and is this something that we can support?
Can I ask a question of clarity? Is this pulse survey just for orchestra specifically, or that would be sent out, or is this for
Traveling courses.
any traveling courses?
I think we should focus on one course.
But I thought, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
It would, just to see if we can get it to work and what the best option is.
Thank you.
Is everybody okay with starting
And-
with?
Start with one.
Yeah.
But Chris and Kurt, so I'm clear, it also sounds like, from your perspective, courses that have a multi-year sequence like orchestra or world language will be challenging to do because there's generally one staff member who teaches those courses and has 5 courses over the day. So next year, we might be able to have travel kids for Latin 1. But the following year, if they wanted to keep doing Latin, then we'd have to have Latin 1 and Latin 2 in a certain period of the day. It gets harder as the student matriculates through high school. Am I understanding that right?
That's fine, but that's what we're working through.
Just making sure I'm clear.
All right, Chris, you're comfortable with what we're asking for. Kurt?
Yep.
Okay.
The second option is what we're calling kind of blended or hybrid with the teacher travel. So an alternative to the student travel would be that students stay at their respective home school. And on some days, the students are taught in person by a certified teacher, and then the other days they're completing individual work. So for example, on an A day, the teacher would be at Central completing the lesson, and students at South would do independent work, not with a certified teacher. There would be a different space that they are at. And then the following day, on Tuesday, would be a B day where the teacher's in front teaching the lesson in person to the student at South, and the student at Central would be doing more independent work here. The benefit of this type of situation is that the student doesn't have to travel and you don't have to deal with that. The teacher is the one that is traveling between the buildings, so that both students at each school have a certified teacher that's providing them with the content and the curriculum. The downside is that you don't have on an average semester 80-ish days of content by a certified teacher. You'd only have about half with direct instruction. The other half students are still working, but it's a lot more independent work in this type of scenario here. It's a little bit more, that's where we come up with that blended term here. So there's a little bit more onus on teaching, the student doing some self-teaching and practice of the material. The next option here is a completely remote option. So a student would stay at their home school if the course was not taught there, and they would participate completely remotely. So the teacher would stay at their home school and teach the students that were in front of them, and then the students at the opposing school would stay in the space here, and they would Zoom in, they would Google in, they would participate in the class every single day via a virtual option here. So they would be fully remote here. The benefit is the teacher's not traveling, the students at that home school have direct instruction every single day, and the student in the remote setting would have direct instruction every single day. But I think, as we know, there's a lot of logistics that are very difficult. It's hard to replicate what happens inside the classroom for a majority of the students that are in front of you, and try to replicate that for students that aren't there is very difficult. For instance, group work becomes a lot more difficult. Yes, it's easy to group students in front of you to do activities and things like that, and get up in the whiteboard and do all the amazing things that our teachers do. It's really hard to replicate that for the students that would be at the other school that are fully remote. And then the last option is 100% virtual class. So there's some online providers that exist that we could contract with that would provide a student an opportunity to stay at their home school, where they would engage in some type of the full course there. This is not credit recovery because they're not taking it for the first time, but rather we would find a platform that meets the needs of the students to be able to do the full course for them. The benefit is, again, the student stays at their home school. There's a wide variety of courses that exist in these online platforms and the catalogs there. The downside is it's a fully remote content not taught by a District 86 teacher. It's taught by some type of video or an online person. It's not something that we have direct control over.
So the final option would be for electives only, right? I mean, you couldn't do a core course. You're gonna want a core course to be taught, especially a state required mandated course to be taught by a D86 certified staff member.
Yes, and I think if you say core course, like our graduation requirements are all taught at each of our schools individually, so that's never in question. For example, US history or civics, for example. But if you're thinking of other social studies courses, there are differences that exist. Is that, I mean,
Yeah,
between them?
but world languages, for example, right now it's 2 years, 2 units, right?
Oh, when the state
For
requirement
graduation.
comes out?
But, it's gonna increase.
Mhm.
So the virtual classes are great, but probably just for electives, not going towards graduation requirements.
That it better fits for elective courses.
And with regards to fully remote or hybrid, have we thought about how this would affect a certified staff member's contract?
Again, that's a wonderful question for our Assistant Superintendent of HR and the HR Committee. We are just simply providing some options for you to consider.
Okay, I'm not sure that we have enough information. Thank you for the options. I don't think that we can provide direction at this moment.
And we're not looking for direction either, we just wanted to be able to provide these are the 4 most common options that high schools in similar districts in size and options to us are doing to provide you with the start of the conversation.
I would just say, having, we all lived through COVID, my preference generally would be if we can do student travel. I think something very important is lost when students are not in person. And if we were to do something like remote Google Meets, I mean, it doesn't suit students who are struggling very well. It doesn't suit a lot of things. So I have a lot of personal hesitation from that, but that's just where my head is. So I'm more interested in exploring the travel option. I mean, I think, yes, our students are big in body, but they are still young humans and they do need a lot of guidance still.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith, Kurt, Chris. Moving on to action items. 7.1, approve assistant girls wrestling coach at both campuses. As noted in the HR committee report, a proposal to add 1 assistant girls wrestling coach at each campus was reviewed by the committee and advanced to the board for consideration. May I have a motion to approve assistant girls wrestling coach at Hinsdale South and at Hinsdale Central stipend category G.
So moved, Mitha.
Motion Mitha, do I have a second?
Second, Satchwell.
Second Satchwell, is there any discussion? I will just add that, if these positions are approved, I encourage both campuses to make sure that the girls wrestling program has all of the equipment they need to be, to grow and succeed. Deb, will you please call roll?
Member Greenspan.
Aye.
Member Fisher.
Aye.
Member Mitha.
Aye.
Member Akras.
Aye.
Member Satchwell.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 7.2, approve employee benefit plan changes. On an annual basis, the district's insurance representative brokers the renewal of the district's medical, dental, vision, and supplementary employee benefits on behalf of the district. The Employee Benefits Committee reviews the renewal proposals and makes recommendations on cost allocations, and the board approves these recommendations. Administration requests that the board approve rate increases effective January 1, 2026, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer and the Assistant Superintendent of HR, in consultation with union representatives outlined in the attached memo. May I please have a motion to approve the rate increases effective January 1, 2026 as presented? Medical at 18.1%, PPO, HSA, and HMO dental at 5%, vision at 0%, including a 4-year rate guarantee, life AD&D and long-term disability 0%, including a 3-year guarantee, and voluntary life 0%, including a 2-year guarantee. May I have a motion, please?
So moved, Satchwell.
Motion Satchwell. Is there a second?
Second, Mitha.
Second, Mitha. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick question, Jody or Josh. We did everything we could, because this is gonna hurt, and I've read the materials, it feels like we did everything we could.
Within the framework that we have, yes, we did everything we could. We took a look at the plan designs and had options of some severe plan design changes. And even those changes did not result in any significant savings to what was gonna be happening. So we've had, if you look at it over 5 years, it looks really good. This is not a good year. Most of the increases are not related to fixed costs. It is mostly related to plan utilization. And last year we had a 0% increase. This year is higher. But you know, we've done what we can within the framework.
Thank you.
I know, is it fair to say that some districts, when they are negotiating with their bargaining unit, that they agree upon some cap for annual benefit increases? Is that
You know-
something that's ever been done here?
I wouldn't have that history here, Josh.
So I guess the question, my question back would be the cap from which direction? Currently, the district has a cap in place that limits the financial increase on the district's end, not on the employee end.
Okay.
And it's just really tied into the 125 plan structure for the HHSTA and the HTHSSA group. The district, we share the cost increases, 50% up to the first 8%. And then anything beyond that is the employee's responsibility. For all other, for the B&G group and all other bargaining unit employees, it would be the 125 plan increases by CPI each year. And then that's the increase that they have for the 125 plan.
Thank you, that's all.
Will you call roll, please, Deb?
Member Fisher.
Aye.
Member Mitha.
Aye.
Member Akris.
Aye.
Member Satchwell.
Aye.
Member Greenspan.
Aye, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items consist of items that are routine in nature or that have been discussed with the board and are now presented for approval. Any item may be pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion and consideration. All items on the consent agenda are approved with a single motion unless removed before the roll call vote. Does any board member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for further discussion and a separate vote? May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved, Satchwell.
Second, Fisher.
Motion Satchwell, second Fisher. Is there any discussion? Please call roll.
Member Mitha.
Aye.
Member Akris.
Aye.
Member Satchwell.
Aye.
Member Greenspan.
Aye.
Member Fisher.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to administration reports. 14.1, 5-year financial forecast, fiscal year 26. The F&F committee reviewed the 5-year financial forecast at their October 14, 2025 meeting. Overall, the district is in a stable financial position and there are no significant changes anticipated in the near future. Do board members have questions for CFO Stevenson? Thank you for the 5-year forecast, Josh. Moving on, 14.2, financial report, September 2025. CFO Stevenson has presented the financial reports for September 2025. Do any board members have questions on these reports for the CFO? No. Once again, thank you for the report, Josh. 14.3, FOIA report, October 2025. FOIA officer Deb Kudrowski presented the FOIA report for October, prepared in accordance with policy 2:250, access to district public records, and policy 2:250 AP1. Are there any questions regarding the 19 FOIA requests processed? Thanks for the report, Deb. Moving on to the president's report. I want to wish everybody a happy end to October. If the community celebrates, have a safe and happy Halloween. Remind everybody that Hinsdale Central Varsity Football is playing in South Elgin tomorrow night. Is there a sports person? Is this sectionals? Yeah.
It's just a bracket.
Okay, it's
It's just a bracket.
Okay.
Yeah, they do like a drawing, kind of like.
Okay. So it's a bracket. It's playoffs. It's playoffs. First round playoffs. So if you're around and please go out to Elgin, South Elgin to support our Red Devils. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us. Moving on to future agenda item requests. Do any members of the board have a request for a future agenda item? Board comments. We have set aside time on the agenda for board comments. This section of the agenda is not for board deliberation. It may be used by board members to offer their comments for the record. Are there members of the board who wish to offer comments?
I do. So in September, close watchers of the board will recall that board member Mitha threw down the gauntlet and suggested that we as board members need to come up with personal, professional development plans to be the best board members that we can be. I accept the challenge. So in response, I enrolled in the board director program at the University of Michigan Ross Business School. It's a good program. It's about enhancing government, strategic oversight, financial choices, and board effectiveness, skills where I clearly need to grow. Importantly, the district is not funding this initiative, but I just heard board member Mitha, and we're there.
Thanks. Wow. Now I feel a little pressure to do similar. Maybe let us fill some cabinet seats first, and then maybe we'll fill something aligned. I mean, on that note, I do think coming up we should do some sort of board self-evaluation soon. But Bobby's already jumped the gun, so thanks, Bobby. Appreciate you.
Well, I haven't been hiring a new superintendent.
If others are going to Triple I conference, can we coordinate and try to, divide and conquer sessions that we want to go to and share learnings afterwards? Yes.
Maybe Deb can help coordinate that.
Yeah, that would be great. And if there are receptions that we are attending together, that would be good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
That'd be great. Is there anything else? Okay, with no further discussion, the October 30th, 2025 regular meeting is adjourned at 9:11 p.m. Thank you. What? Oh, audience communications, I'm sorry. Is there anybody that has audience?
Yes, I do.
I really appreciate all the work on the program of studies and the information on earned honors. I do still believe a lot is outstanding, but I think that what we're missing in this is I think we do need to make a change for this program of studies. Because we don't know what students will choose if they had an honors option or an earned honors on courses that don't have them. And it might save some of those classes that nobody's enrolling in. And so I would encourage the board to ask, could we put an option on all of the electives that are beyond the introductory level so that everybody can choose based on their passion instead of based on whether they're going to get a GPA bump. And another thing that we could do is we could do earned honors, but we could also give kids the opportunity to choose honors up front. And that solves a lot of the problems that kids have. We have kids struggling to figure out what they have to do in earned honors. So if they know up front they're in honors, the teacher's going to be watching them, and it isn't all on the kids and them being able to self-advocate. It's giving them the option to choose it and be following along. The data that I see shows that we have a lot of kids that were in honors English and they chose the earned honors English electives and then didn't earn honors, that's not good for their transcripts. It shows a loss of rigor. But it also shows us that we had kids that needed an honors option as opposed to an AP option. And so I hope that the academic committee will explore having honors English electives for those kids, because you can only take one of the AP classes to college with you. So if you get your 5 on the first one, you're looking for something else that might be your passion. It might be Black American literature, but we don't offer it in honors. And if you go down to the regular class, your university is gonna go, what happened? So there's a lot of things we can do, and this immediately makes the world better for everyone if we find a way to ask the department chairs and the teachers, could they put honors options, earned honors on all elective courses that are beyond the introductory level? And let's be consistent, get rid of the earned honors on the 2 introductory courses that we have it on, and then everybody's working under the same rules. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, with no further discussion, the October 30th, 2025 regular meeting is adjourned at 9:14 p.m. Thank you. Have a nice evening.